Welcome back to episode 79 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. I'm here, as always, with my good buddy Troy. What's going on, man?
Baseball is in full swing, so we got that going for me. A lot of coaching, a lot of fun stuff.
Coming to you live from the state of hockey, but in my case, Troy, it's the state of COVID in my house with three-fourths of us now with the Rona. My officially, I guess, my biggest expo pickup was COVID. My son got it too, and my wife. Only the 14-year-old daughter remains the one healthy one in the household, and she's asked to be put up in a hotel.
Well, she's probably the one that stays in her room the most. She's like, I ain't going out with you guys. Get out of here. Just sickos.
Yeah, we've been trying to stay away from her, and it's not too hard because she normally stays away from us. But we're on the mend. Hopefully I sound better this episode. I don't know if I remember the last one. It was a little bit of a fog, but we're ready to go. Well, happy Star Wars Day, Troy. May the 4th be with you.
Yeah, may the 4th be with you.
Should we just scrap hockey cards and do a Star Wars cards podcast today?
We could, but I don't have many Star Wars cards. It's the one that I've never really got into that much. I did buy, Blasters of the Mandalorian when I saw them at Target, but that's about it for my Star Wars collection. There's some really cool ones, too. They have, autographs and chromes and everything. Not
only hockey cards, we're your Star Wars podcast leader, I guess. I have a 1978, I can't remember, maybe 5th series unopened pack. So I don't know. Nice. I don't even know what it's worth. I haven't looked it up in years. But, well, in the hockey world, we're in the midst of the NHL playoffs. First round is over. Is nutty a good word to describe what's gone on so far in the NHL playoffs?
I saw someone tweet it out. It was kind of made me laugh where they said the playoffs went from kind of boring to complete chaos in one day. And I was like, that's a pretty good point. They did.
Well, we have our 2 Canadian teams advanced to the second round, and obviously most notably the Maple Leafs breaking that curse. But Boston and Colorado did not advance, so that's crazy in of itself. We have big-time performers and players stepping up. We'll get into a lot of that today. I do have a question for you, though, kind of big picture hobby. Would you say that this first week or so or first round of the playoffs has been good for the hobby, Trey?
I believe it has been awesome for the hobby because you've had no sweeps. You've had a lot of series going to Game 7. I think if you watched highlights, if you're just a passing interest in hockey and you're flipping through TV and find highlights, they have been crazy. These games have been crazy. Lots of overtimes, double overtimes so far. So, yes, I do think it's been really good for the hobby. And I don't know if you're going to get to it, but you sent me a little note on the Panthers-Boston game. I don't know if you're going to say that later, but...
No, I actually didn't have that, so we can mention that now. That was the highest round 1 rated game ever in the U.S. Some 3.5 million people watched on TV. That's awesome. That's amazing. That's what we need here in the U.S. to grow the sport of hockey. I think it's been very good for the hobby, too. If I was trying to think of, why wouldn't it have been good? I guess maybe a concern would be you've got a couple of small market teams like Seattle and Florida that have knocked off bigger market teams, of course, Boston and Colorado. You've also got some big-time hobby stars that were knocked out, like Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, Pasternak, Lafreniere. But also, could the majority of those no longer with the team in the race, maybe now we'll adopt a team like the Panthers? I kind of think I have. There's a part of me that's rooting for the Panthers, but I'm torn, I'll admit, because I'm loving our Gopher guy, Matthew Nyes, what he's been doing for Toronto, and I do think it'd be good for Toronto to continue to advance. So I guess I would just like to see the continuation of more close games. Love the overtimes, want Game 7s, just all the drama that comes with it.
Well, no matter what, one of those teams is going to advance, right? Florida or Tampa Bay. Florida or Toronto. So you're good there. You got them both covered.
Got them both covered. Well, Troy, kind of a big announcement for us. We're going to be doing our first ever YouTube live show on the Hockey Cards Gongshow YouTube channel next Monday night. And we'll have Jeremy Lee with us as a special guest, as we're going to be following and giving live reactions to the NHL Draft Lottery. We'll finally find out, Troy, where Adam Fantilli is going to go next year.
Nice. He's the only one to care about, right?
Yeah. We'll also cover lesser-known prospects like Connor Bedard, but yeah, we're big Fantilli guys here at this show. Yeah, it's the main draw, of course, is where does Connor Bedard ultimately end up, and it should just be a lot of fun, real fun time. So it'll be 7 o'clock Central Time next Monday on Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast, I think, is our YouTube channel. If you want to go there and subscribe, you'll be notified when it starts. We'll be doing interactive stuff with the chat, so you can ask questions. We'll answer it during the show and all that good stuff. And thankful to have Jeremy on board to help us really do our ever first YouTube video of any kind. I'm sure it'll be a total gong show. It's new software.
I was just thinking, if it was you and me, would we just sit there and stare at each other, like, not say anything? Like, you say something. No, you say something. Yeah, it might be a gong show. We got tested out this weekend to see if we know what we're doing. Yeah. So that's always fun.
We would probably hit record by accident and not know that we were recording and being the typical idiots that nobody gets to see when we're not recording. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I'm sure it'll be a train wreck. If you like watching, you can't take your eyes off a car crash, you probably want to check it out. 7 p.m. Central, Hockey Cards Gong Show YouTube channel. Lastly, Troy, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a Patreon podcast, but that means that we rely on support from listeners like you to help us cover expenses, continue to produce more and hopefully better hockey card content, and help us to fund initiatives, even in a small way, to grow the hockey card hobby. Right now, you can still join our out of 99 support level tier, be one of the first 99 supporters ever of the Hockey Cards Gong Show. We got to check. There's probably not that many left. I'm guessing under 20 at this point, something like that. It's $5 a month, and you also get exclusive access to the Hockey Cards Gong Show Discord server, and you can chat with us on a regular basis. Super easy to do, Troy. If you haven't done it already, you can go to the hockeycardsgongshow.com website, and there's a Become a Patron link right on our homepage. Or you go to the Patreon website at patreon.com and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. There's a link in the show description for whatever podcast app you're listening to us on right now. And finally, in our Instagram and TikTok profiles, there's a link tree that has the link there. Since our last show, Troy, we have 3 new patrons. That's kind of awesome. Thank them very much. First of all, we want to shout out Bewley Shop. I think that's how you say it. Be sure to check out his Instagram and follow him at it's BEAULY.shop. Give him a follow on Instagram. Then there's Troy's favorite, Bun.
Bun, I love it. Simple, short, to the point.
Right to the point. He's a Whatnot single streamer that streams most days at 10 a.m. Central Time. Get some hockey singles there. And then, Troy, this has to be a first, right? All the way from Germany, goalie.42.
Nice.
Did you play hockey in Germany too? Every time I mention a European country, you're like, I played hockey.
I do have a story about Germany, but it's not that we played hockey. When I was over, we were playing in Norway and Sweden and Russia. And I think we were in Sweden we were in Norway, and our flight to the U.S., SAS Airlines, went on strike when we were there. So we couldn't get back. We had to jump on another airline, but to get back to the U.S., we actually had to fly to Hamburg, Germany, and then fly back to the U.S. So that's my Germany story. I stayed there for 12 hours.
Goalie42, all the way from Germany. Anyways, be sure to check out his Instagram at goalie.42 and give him a follow as well. All right, Troy, you ready for the game plan?
I am, but before, I got to give a shout out to Bewley Shop. He actually reached out. 2 things. He's our French correspondent, right? He said if we ever have problems with French names, I think we can send him a note and he'll give us the correct pronunciation. And then also he reached out because he got a box of Marvel cards. I think he won them, and he doesn't collect them, so he wanted to know if my daughter would like them, and I really appreciate that. Again, you don't ever have to send us stuff, but I'm going to try to find some stuff to send to him and make it a trade. But I appreciate the offer. All right, on today's show, we begin with the greatest NHL player to wear number 79. Then it's off to Who's Hot and the Struggle Bus, another playoffs edition. Then we take a look at the PWCC Weekly Auction and go over some of our favorite hockey cards. Next, it'll be hobby news. This is followed by an interview with Tony Sirianni from Upper Deck, where we do a lot of talking about 2021-22 SP Authentic and some other interesting topics of note. Next is new product releases, followed by our listener mailbag. All right, Josh, we are on episode 79. So the greatest NHL player to wear number 79, per the Hockey Writers' greatest player to wear each number article, is Andrei Markov. Josh,
really?
have you heard of Markov?
I don't think so.
If you say no, you're probably going to get Montreal Canadian fans are going to be mad at you, because he's actually, I actually have heard of him. He's pretty well known up in Montreal, and you'll hear some interesting stuff about him. He is a defenseman from, here we go, Voskresensk, Soviet Union.
I think you did good there.
I think that was, it looks phonetically right. It looks phonetically right. Markov was the 162nd overall pick in the 1998 NHL entry draft by the Montreal Canadiens.
Oh, see, I only studied up to pick 160.
Oh, nice.
1998.
So then you didn't know about him.
Just missed out. I probably would have known a lot about him.
Markov played in 990 regular season games over a 16-season NHL career. He played his entire career with the Montreal Canadiens. So for his awards and accomplishments, he was a 2-time All-Star Game selection in 2008 and 2009. That's about it. He didn't win any individual awards. However, he did receive Norris Trophy votes in 6 of his 16 seasons, finishing as high as 6th place twice. And I dug in and found that he won a gold medal with Russia at the 2008 World Championships. So we're going to start throwing that in because I feel bad. I want him to have some more stuff. Over the course of his career in the regular season, Markov had 119 goals, 453 assists for 572 points. He made the playoffs in 9 of his 16 NHL seasons, compiling a stat line of 5 goals, 27 assists for 32 points in 89 playoff games played. The best season of his career from a point standpoint was his 2008-09 season, where Markov had 12 goals and 52 assists for 64 points in 78 games played with the Montreal Canadiens. So now a little bit about Markov. As a player, Markov was known for his incredible vision, perfect first passes, and his power play wizardry, while also having a very sound defensive game. Markov quietly has become a Montreal Canadiens icon. And one of the funny things is, if you ever see interviews with him and go look at him, he's like the master of the one-word answer. Very stoic, very Russian, very one-word answer. And he had a really, really dry sense of humor when you read interviews about him and people and other players talk about him. But it was just, they're funny to watch. So I highly recommend to go look at interviews with him. Markov was soft-spoken but highly effective. Markov was respected not only in his own dressing room but across the NHL, even if he is underappreciated by fans outside of Montreal, where he played his entire NHL career. So this is what I'm talking about. He's one of those guys. Montreal Canadian fans know exactly who he is. He was there for 16 seasons. Markov has overcome serious injuries during his career. He had a lacerated ankle in 2009 and knee problems a year later that required surgery. He has also recovered from 2 torn ACLs and a ruptured Achilles tendon to go along with those previous lacerated ankle and knee problems. So pretty tough go, but again, gamer, toughed it out, got surgery, recovered. So that's about all on the Markov bio. But again, Montreal Canadian fans respect him. They know about him. Played for a lot of seasons with them. Fun facts. In 2010, having spent a decade in Montreal, he became a Canadian citizen. I think he actually has dual citizenship is what I read.
Did he learn French?
I don't know. He better have. Politicians will be up in arms. He's nicknamed the General. And the only reason I could find why he's nicknamed the General, he's a fierce competitor and a battler. So I guess that's why.
Okay.
All right, and now my favorite fun fact. Markov's 119 goals and 572 points are the most by any Canadiens defenseman not named Larry Robinson or Guy Lapointe. And his 60 power play goals place him second among Canadian defensemen behind only Robinson. So that's
pretty impressive. Yeah,
good one. Definitely a fun fact, interesting stat line. His rookie card, oh boy, 1996-97 Upper Deck Ice, number 142. The PSA 10 copy of this card only has a pop of 2 with a gem rate of 12%. The only sale I could find of a graded copy of this card was a PSA 9 that sold for $2.25 on July 29th, 2019 via PWCC. I did find a raw copy sale on January 4th of 2022 for $14.84.
So if he's so beloved in Montreal, why aren't they buying his cards, Troy?
I don't know. They don't have
Question of the day.
They must not like the cards. The BGS 9.5 has a pop of 0, and there's actually only 3 graded copies, a BGS 7, 7.5, and an 8.5. So not much hobby love. It's kind of interesting.
Another one of these guys that doesn't have a Young Guns. It's always weird when they don't have Young Guns to try to figure out what their rookie should be. Another guy, somebody messaged us on Instagram today wondering what Eric Halla's rookie is, which his rookie year was in 2013, and he doesn't have a Young Guns, I don't think, either. And so I found like a Prism silver or something like that. And what stood out to me is, so now that Upper Deck is in this pattern of doing Series 1, Series 2, and Extended, and it's like 50, 30 Young Guns, that'll never happen again, right? Because they have to find 130 guys a year to make a Young Guns for. So if you're like Luke Hughes' roommate, you're going to get a Young Gun in college or something like that. You know, for these guys that kind of in that late 90s through early 2010s, kind of hit or miss whether or not they end up having a Young Guns card.
Yeah, it's curious. Like when on situations like this where I know they don't have a Young Guns, I always go to that TCDB and I do the search by RC designation, and they always list cards that have the RC designation. But you got to do RC wildcard so you can see if it has other designations, it will also pull up.
Gotcha. Okay, Troy, it's time for Who's Hot and the Struggle Bus, another playoffs edition. Now for some reason, we have a surprisingly big contingent of Panthers fans in our Gong Show Discord.
They're all becoming best friends. That was my favorite. I cracked up when that. I can't remember. I think it was it 419 Sports Guy that wrote that?
Like, I don't know.
Or Beard Boss or something. One of them wrote something. It was just hilarious. He's like, no, you're a Panthers fan. And now we're best friends.
So we kind of dedicate this Who's Hot to you guys because, frankly, some guys on your team deserve it. So we're going to start with Brandon Montour. We probably could have featured him on Who's Hot. Did we do it once or no?
Don't ask me. I don't know.
What a Gong Show this is. Well, we might have or we might have not. We'll leave that up to anyone that actually remembers what our shows were like. I heard Troy, one of the TV announcers, say the other day that if you could win the Norris Trophy in the postseason, it would almost have to go to Montour. And I think I agree with that, don't you?
Yeah, probably.
He's a 29-year-old Panthers defenseman. And so far in this playoffs, he has 6 goals, 3 assists for 9 points in 8 games played. That's decent. To boot, he's coming off a breakout year in which he had 16 goals, 57 assists for 73 points in 80 games played. Those are career highs for both goals and points. I was listening to Spit and Chicklets the other day, Troy, and I think one of the guys on their show had said something to the effect that Paul Maurice gave Montour the green light before the beginning of the season, and that's part of why he's popped off so much. And so you, as an elite Minnesota high school hockey coach, and me, not really that huge of a hockey guy, how much of a real thing is sort of the green light concept? And does not having it hold some players back from maybe breaking out? Or just kind of get your take on that.
So from my take from our high school team, everyone has the green light. All our defensemen have the green light. We preach that our defensemen need to rush the puck. They need to join the offensive play. We don't have stay-at-home D. It's just not how the game is anymore. And so the whole green light concept, I mean, our whole defensive core has a green light. They can all go and do whatever they feel is necessary if they think they can join the offensive play and score a goal. I'm sure there's some a little more intricacies when you get to the NHL, and Paul Maurice has been around a while, so maybe he's got a little bit of old school mentality. But yeah, I could see that. Maybe NHL still, you have a couple guys that are just straight up stay-at-home Ds or your prototypical D, and if you give them the green light, maybe they'll break out of that mold and try to be a little more offensive. But really, the game, I've said this before, and people kind of laugh, but hockey is going like soccer, and we're not going to have positions. Like, even our high school team, we don't even really talk about positions. We talk about fronts and backs. We have fronts and backs, and they can be interchangeable. We expect them to be interchangeable, even like on the offensive side and the defensive side. The days of a forward looking like they're a completely lost when they have to try to play D, that's gone. You better learn how to play some D, because guess what? You might have to do it if one of our D jumps up in the play and gets caught. There's no more excuses for that stuff. So it's interesting to hear him say that. But yeah, I could see it.
Brandon Montour is a 2016 Young Gun, and his PSA 10 is pop 17, Troy, with an 89% gem rate. Now, before you fall over in your chair, there's 19 graded. So
okay,
you got to take that with a grain of salt. And honestly, given that it's only pop 17, I think I would have remembered that. Pretty sure this is the first time that we're featuring Montour. So anyways, it last sold for $85 US on April 30th. Another one sold for $79 US that day too. But the prior sale to those was a year ago on April 22. So not a lot sell. I'd also guess, Troy, that it's safe to say maybe a few have made it from Commons boxes over to PSA in the last couple months. So I don't know if that'll ever be like a pop 1,000, but I'm guessing by the time the next season starts, it'll be a little bit bigger than 17.
Run to your LCS and see if they got Brandon Montour sitting in their dollar boxes.
Well, Kira Schmidt and Brandon Montour.
Yep.
Those are the big ones right now. All right, let's just stick with the Panthers. Why don't we, huh?
Yep, it's Panthers all day. Matthew Tkachuk. Tkachuk has continued his excellent play from the first-round series where Florida upset the Bruins. In the first game of round 2 against the Toronto Maple Leafs, Tkachuk had 3 assists to help the Panthers to a Game 1 win. He also was flying all over the ice, bunch of hits, drew some penalties as well. I said it's safe to say he is playing at peak Tkachuk level right now and shown why he will be, if he continues to play this well, be in the running for the Conn Smythe Trophy. Here's what I love about Tkachuk. He's out there running around, making hits. Guess what? He also got hit and took him, got up, and went right back out there. There wasn't a whole – maybe I missed some of it, but when I saw him get hit, he wasn't chasing people down to club him and get a penalty. He was just playing hard physical hockey, and he knew he took down numbers, and he made sure to get some people back. Right now, Tkachuk leads all skaters in playoff points with 14. He has 5 goals, 9 assists. And I was thinking about this. Holy cow, Florida must be just loving the trade they made this summer to get him. It's looking like one of the all-time steals right now if it continues to play out the way it did, as Calgary got Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar. Both of them struggled mightily this year. Whereas Florida just got a player who put up the 6th most points in the regular season with 109 and is now leading all skaters in scoring in the playoffs. So good trade for Florida if it continues to play out like this. Can you imagine if they get a cup? Holy cow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. I think Paul Maurice did sum it up best when he was asked about Tkachuk, and he just said, he's a bunch of expletives and then the word gamer at the end. And I think that really does sum up Tkachuk, how he has been playing in these playoffs. His rookie is a 2016 Young Guns. It's number 231. PSA 10 has a pop of 733 with a gem rate of 62%. The last couple of days, there have been a couple of sales around the $169.99 mark, and that's US dollars. Before those sales, during the first round series, the card was selling in the $130 to $150 US dollar range. During the beginning of the season, the card was going anywhere between 115 and 125 US dollar range. So definitely not a huge increase with how well he's played, but we'll see what happens if Florida can get to a conference final or even make the Stanley Cup final. I could see that being a little bump for Mr. Tkachuk there if he keeps playing like he has.
Yeah, he could be a playoffs breakout candidate. And it seemed that would have seemed crazy to think about, given that to this point he's been super good. He's had back-to-back 100-point seasons. Nobody cared. Yeah. He's in the Bermuda Triangle of the hobby, any team in Florida, as we call it, and nobody cares about those. But his play has just been so amazing. And when you slayed the dragon, David and Goliath, right? You knock off the Boston Bruins and take Game 1 against the Maple Leafs. I don't know, man. I would love to see him have like a Jason Robertson, Tage Thompson breakout moment. I think that would be huge for the hobby.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny. He's been kind of labeled the anti-hero, right? You love to cheer for him, but he's kind of the bad guy. But I really see it shifting to like people are starting to love this guy. And again, we've seen the family in the past. The whole family's just very outgoing personalities. We had Brady? Was it Brady last year at the playoff games, having fun in the stands, all that stuff. So I think it's just really interesting to see how he continues to grow.
When their dad goes on the media and makes like some pretty outlandish comments and stuff like that.
I love it. All right, our next guy, final guy for Who's Hot, and this was an emergency ad. Holy cow, Joe Pavelski. Talk about having a coming out party on your return to the lineup. Pavelski returned to the Stars lineup for Game 1 of Round 2 against the Seattle Kraken after being knocked out of Game 1 of the first round against the Wild on a hit by Matt Dumba. I think he received a concussion, right? Was it officially diagnosed a concussion?
Yes, it was.
So he had to go through protocol and get back. So what does he do on his first game back? Just scores 4 goals in a game and becomes the oldest player in NHL history to have a 4-goal game in the playoffs. He became the second oldest player to have a hat trick in the Stanley Cup playoffs. However, even with Pavelski's history-making game, the Stars still fell to the Kraken in Game 1 in overtime. Really awesome game. Ottinger lets up 4 goals in the first period. You think it's over.
Yeah.
But here comes Dallas roaring right back and end up tying it. Pavelski played absolutely amazing. He was getting pucks to the net, crashing the net front presence, all that fun stuff. But his tip goals, wow. Both
His
of them.
hand-eye coordination is pretty awesome.
They were talking about, though, I think it was it ESPN that had the game? I can't remember who actually had the game, but they were talking about in the studio show how at practices he'll stay out after practice and work on tips for a long time. And you could see it paid off because those tips were just absolutely fantastic. So
how many guys, and I'm not even just saying the playoffs, in any NHL game, do you think have scored 4 goals and lost? Yeah, that percentage has to be very small.
I would be curious how many. I bet Connor McDavid. Do you think he leads it? I wonder if he leads it for most 4-goal games with losses. Because I feel like he always scores a bunch of goals and they lose, especially in the last couple of years with the goalie situation they had. All right, Pavelski. I don't know. This is probably the first time we've talked about his Young Gun. It's a 2006 Young Guns, number 487. PSA 10 has a pop of 74 with a gem rate of 50%. Obviously, with that pop count, this card doesn't sell a lot. But looking at, I went through Terapeak, and I did find a sale on March 1st of 2023. The card sold for $113 US, which kind of, to me, looks like a steal. I feel like a low pop rate, and how this guy has had is he a Hall of Famer? I don't know. I don't want to get in that debate, but he's had a long career. There are also a handful of sales of this card before the March 1st sale I found. There was some sales from September 2022 to February 2023 in the range of $130 to $229 US. So I think whoever got it for $113 actually got a pretty smart pickup.
Yeah. Goodbye. All right, there it is. Holy cow. We have one guy on the struggle bus this week, and we can only fit. It only felt right. Your guy, Troy, Alexis Lafreniere. So I'll kind of admit that I'm doing this for a specific reason. I got to shout out Just Hockey Cards, again, from the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server. He literally, and I'm not kidding, literally almost killed me. So there's a couple days where I was coughing so much. Where you ever get sick like that, where you cough so much that your ribs get so sore, it's almost like you have broken ribs. So I saw a post with Laffy's new nickname that he was just reposting, but I don't think he invented it. But I started laughing so hard that it was so painful. I was like crying almost on the ground. And I think you saw this too, right? So very James Bond theme for our guy, Alexis Lafreniere. A 007 is the nickname, right? Well, you get the nickname 007 when you have 0 goals, 0 assists in 7 games.
We're going to have to put a moratorium on ripping on Laffy. But now someone in the Discord, I can't remember, I don't have it up right now, but let's just nominate Laffy to be, he's driving this thing. He's driving the bus. He's bringing everyone on board with him.
Well, the NHL has trophies that they name after people. So I was thinking, well, next year, do we name the struggle bus like annually for the whole year for a guy that really struggled mightily the year before?
Maybe.
And honestly, to me, the 2 candidates would be Lafreniere and Seider. If you had to guess right now, which one would you pick?
Probably Lafreniere, being a number 1 overall pick. And just kind of, again, still, he's young. I have a feeling, I'm not saying he's going to break out and be this all-star, but I think we have a history of saying the stuff about people and they kind of pop off. But I don't know. He hasn't shown it. We've talked about him enough. And I'm not seeing
it. Is it too, or could it be a self-fulfilling prophecy where he's got to hear this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Where maybe is that affecting his confidence? And he was bad in that first round against the Devils. And it really stinks for the hobby because there's so much money that's tied up in this guy still. And I know it's easy to poke fun at, and it's easier for us because we don't have big Laffy cards, but I really feel for people that got excited about him and went all in. And Troy, other than holding on to a wing and a prayer, I don't know how anybody can reasonably assume this guy could still be an NHL star. And I'm talking star, like on the Jason Robertson, Jack Hughes level. How could you possibly predict that?
I mean, unless you're he could be a late bloomer. I mean, we've had it happen before, but it's not looking good right now. That's all I'll say.
We might need to start a special podcast series for people on how to quit Laffy. We'll have 101 masterclass and how to quit Lafreniere. That'll be our third special podcast. His cards sell for so much still, and the guy literally does, like in the playoffs, nothing. I think too, it kind of points to how weird this hobby can be at times, where there's guys like Laffy who have so much hype and very, very little productivity. And on the same token, nobody cares about a guy like Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll say it again, too. I'm not anti-Laffy at all. It would be great for the hobby if he scored 50 goals next year. I would definitely root for that because it would mean that people's cards would go up in value, and that would be a good thing. I'm just constantly dumbfounded when looking at sales that people still chase this guy to the degree they do. So here's a case in point. So far this year, Troy, 15 Laffy sales, so 15 cards per the Card Ladder sales history have sold for more than $1,000. There's one Matthew Tkachuk sale for $1,000. There's 4 Tage Thompson sales for greater than $1,000. 6 Steven Stamkos, who only has 500 goals, by the way, in his career. And I'll stop, but hopefully you get the point there. Okay, so Lafreniere is a 2020 Young Gun. His PSA 10 popped 1,495 with a 39% gem rate. Last sold for $104 US, which is down 10% in the last 2 weeks. I didn't go into extensive research, but I took a cursory look again at the Card Ladder sales history. And I don't think his Young Gun PSA 10, Troy, has ever sold publicly for less than $100. And it's getting close at 104. So it'll be really interesting to see if it breaks that barrier. Okay, so let me give you a scenario. Let's say you had like 4 or 5 really nice Laffy rookies. What are you doing at this point, Troy? Are you just trying to sell and get whatever you can for them? Or are you hanging on for dear life and are you going to like run the ship to the ground or whatever?
I would probably hold on for dear life. It's like the catching the falling knife, right? Maybe I'm buying more. I'm trying to double up. But I think I'd probably hold on and just hope he can turn it around. Maybe he needs to get. This is a guy. Maybe he needs to get out of New York too. I mean, it could be like the biggest market in the U.S. Tons of people watching. Maybe he just needs to get out of there.
Okay, so that's Who's Hot and the Struggle Bus on Who's Hot. We started with a couple of Panthers, Brandon Montour, Matthew Tkachuk, and ended with Joe Pavelski, followed by our guy Laffy on the Struggle Bus. All right, Troy, it's time for our PWCC Weekly Preview. PWCC is a Gong Show partner and sponsor. We'd like to thank them for helping to make our show possible. Thanks, guys. Right now, the PWCC Weekly Auction is live, and you can see all 467 hockey cards available to bid on this week at pwccmarketplace.com. Small programming note here, because our good buddy Jeremy Lee will be at the Edmonton Expo this weekend. There will be no PWCC Weekly Hockey Recap show on this channel, so we'll have the night off from that on Sunday, but we should be back the following week. And like we do each week, Troy, we picked some of our favorite vintage and modern cards from this week's auction, and we'll start with the vintage first, like we always do. So the first card I picked out, and I've kind of been in this trend, I think, of these later year player runs for Hall of Fame and legendary players. And there is a 1967 Topps Johnny Bisick PSA 8, which popped 66 with 30 graded higher, that caught my eye. It's not a Bisick rookie. That would be the 1957, so 10 years earlier. But again, I think the 67 is another great vintage representation of a legendary figure and Hall of Fame player in the NHL. Bisick played most of his career with the Boston Bruins. He had a short stint with the Red Wings at the start of his career, Troy, but finished his last 21 years with the Bruins. Career stats were 556 goals, 813 assists for 1,369 points in 1,540 games played. When he retired, he was the 4th leading point scorer of all time. Bisick was known as a big physical player, but also gentlemanly, as he was a 2-time Lady Byng winner. He's also a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, elected to the Hall of Fame, and named to the 100 greatest players of all time list in 2017. His nickname, Troy, here's a nickname alert, was the Chief. Now, I did find the reason how he got this name, and it's kind of messed up, I guess, looking back at it. I found this in an article from NHL.com that I will quote. Originally from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, Jean-Paul Bisick was accidentally given the nickname Chief after a Boston sports cartoonist mistook him for native Canadian due to his dark features, where Bisick's nationality is actually Ukrainian. So I think he was assumed to be indigenous or given the nickname the Chief. Wouldn't fly today, but was a different era back then. The card itself, Troy, is pretty awesome. I don't know if you looked at it. Very well centered for a PSA 8. So that is one of the reasons why this really stood out to me. And just sort of the design of the card, as Bisick is in a face-off pose, I guess you'd call it. There's a hot pink, like sketched arena background behind him, which I think is pretty awesome. Just really like the card. Last public sale, an all-time high, was a while ago in December 2021, where a 1967 John Bisick PSA 8, top 66, I believe, went for $100 US. You got the current bid, Troy?
$50 US.
Okay, halfway there. You got the next one?
I do have the next one. We are going to go with 1954 Parkhurst Floyd Curry, number 15, PSA 8. All right, Josh, I am back on my Parkhurst cards. Again, I love these cards. Plus, I love looking at and researching older players, especially players that played for an original six team. And what better a team to look at a player for than the Montreal Canadiens? Floyd Curry, I didn't know anything about. So
I didn't either.
I thought it'd be a good one to look up. And once I saw his career that he had, I figured, hey, this is a good one to go over. All right, this card is one of 9 PSA 8 graded copies with only one card graded higher. So being a PSA 8 card, it looks really nice. If you look at the PWC site, the design on the front, it's very simple and clean. It's got a picture of Curry skating. It's got the facsimile autograph and the card number in the top right corner, which you don't see very often, but it looks very clean. You see a great picture in the old Canadiens uniform. Looks really, really nice. The edges and corners look very nice, obviously being a PSA 8. The card does have some very minor off-centering left to right and top to bottom, but nothing major. And given that it's a 1954 Parker's card, I can live with the off-center stuff. It's not like 90-10 or anything. So it's definitely doesn't distract for me. Other collectors might not like it, but it's really a really clean front of the card. You know, I was thinking about who would want to collect this card. Obviously, I think it'd be a great addition to any 54 Parkhurst set collectors, any Curry collectors, or Montreal Canadian collectors. It could hit all three of these groups. And again, there's only one of these cards graded higher. So if you're looking at something, this would be definitely one to probably try to jump in on. And so to give a quick bio of Floyd Curry, he was a right winger from Chapleau, Ontario. I don't know if that's how I say it, but I'm saying Chapleau, Ontario. Played 10 seasons in the NHL and was a 4-time Stanley Cup winner as a player. Curry played his entire NHL career with the Montreal Canadiens and had a career regular season stat line of 105 goals, 99 assists for 204 points, 601 games played. Here's the interesting thing. After retiring, Curry went on to work for the Canadiens front office for over 40 years, having a variety of roles. Director of sales, travel secretary, assistant general manager, coach, and director of scouting. That's a pretty impressive list of responsibilities he had during his post-playing career.
What was George Costanza's job with the Yankees? He was the assistant travel secretary, wasn't he?
Yeah, the assistant travel secretary. Travel secretary is a nuts job. Russo, the Minnesota Wild beat writer for Athletics, interviewed the Wild's travel secretary, and it sounds like
I saw that article. That is like when the player gets traded, like they have to like jump into action.
Yep, it's like very high stress too. You have to set up all the hotels, all that fun stuff. All right, Curry was awarded Stanley Cup rings due to his front office work in 1969, 73, 76, 77, 78, and 79. So besides being a player where he had 4 Stanley Cup championships, he also got rings in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other seasons as being a front office member. And I found this interesting. I don't know the rules around it, but his name also got added to the Cup in 77 and 78. Maybe his responsibilities in the front office warranted being on the Cup. I don't know how it works. Now, he's not in the Hall of Fame, but man, this guy really seems like he might be a Hall of Famer in the builder category. I don't know if the builder category goes for like a team builder or if it's more you built the game of hockey and the stuff you did. I didn't look that much into it, but it seems interesting. Most recent sale of this card in a PSA 8 grade was on November 26th of 2022 for $261 US. Current bid right now is $210 US.
That's pretty strong.
Yep, very strong.
Okay, last vintage card that we're going to feature in this week's PWCC Weekly Auction. Again, go to pwccmarketplace.com, look at all the cards, place your bids. Is Troy a 1984 O-Pee-Chee Steve Yzerman PSA 10 Pop 123 Pop 123? This, Troy, is one of my favorite hockey cards of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I think, in my opinion, too, it's one of the iconic cards in all of the hobby, or it should be, if it isn't. The 1984 O-Pee-Chee set features a dual image where you have Yzerman in an action shot in the main part of the card, and then in the bottom right corner, you get the double dose of Stevie Y with what looks like a high school yearbook photo. It's kind of funny. Looks so young. It's an early mid 80s OPG, so there's a little bit of that OPG rough cut that we like to see, as those were wire cut cards, of course, out of the pack. Yzerman, of course, is a longtime captain, Troy, for your Detroit Red Wings. In fact, he spent all 22 of his professional seasons playing for the Wings. He was named the Red Wings captain at age 21 and remained their captain for more than 1,300 games. He won just 3 Stanley Cups in 1997, 98, and 2002. Yzerman is 7th all-time in points with 692 goals, 1,063 assists for 1,755 points and 1,514 games played. His 692 goals, Troy, is good for 10th all-time. Last sale of a 1984 OPG Steve Yzerman PSA 10 Pop 123 was $3,850 on April 30th, so just a few days ago. It's down 21% in the past year. So I think in a lot of these higher end vintage cards that market's been a little rough over the last 6 months. And so if you maybe couldn't afford one in the past and want to buy it and keep it forever and just want a good price, now might be a decent time to really start looking at some of these cards. Because again, it's not like tiny pop, but 123 is not a lot for such an iconic card. You got the current bid?
$950.
Currently a steal. Okay, we're going to switch over to the modern cards. First modern one we want to feature is one of my favorites since we started doing this. Have you looked this card up, Troy?
I have.
Okay, want to get your opinion on it too. It is a 2002 SP Authentic Sign of the Times Wayne Gretzky and Gordie Howe dual auto out of 99 BGS 910. I really, 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 really love this card. Did I say I really love this card? Because I do. Most would say, of course, that the card represents the two best or most iconic players ever. Both Gretzky and Howe autos are hard signed. Howe auto also includes a Mr. Hockey inscription and his number 9 with it too. It also lists the players' names on the card like you would expect, but for Howe, they just put Mr. Hockey, which I think is kind of amazing. Another thing, Troy, that I like about this card is that it's actually out of 99.
Mm-hmm.
When you see the card, you never guess before knowing the serial number that there would be that many. This is a card to me that looks like should be out of 5 or out of 10 because it's just so flippin' nice. So why I like the fact that it's out of 99 is it's just more accessible to people, and it's not going to have that huge, huge value if it was so much more limited. Not that it'll necessarily be cheap, but it's certainly more attainable than if the card was out of 10 or something like that. It's a landscape card, so it's sideways. But UD did a really good job of using the space, I think, for both players. There's great photos, a huge signature area. Yeah, just a really, really great card. I also have to point out the smirk that Gordie has in the photo. This makes worth checking out the card in of itself on PWCCmarketplace.com. Troy, it's like he's looking at you and saying, I just stole your girlfriend without saying it. Can you second that? Or?
Oh, yeah, he does got a little smirk there.
Honestly, it might be my favorite Gretzky Howe dual auto card that I've seen. What's your thoughts on it? Am I overhyping it, or do you like it as much as I do?
I think it looks very, very nice. I have 2 nitpicks that I wish the card had. So on the left-hand side, obviously horizontal card, left-hand side has that gray, I don't know, we'll call it a border. I wish they would move that, make it smaller, like push the card more left, give more room, and I wish Gretzky had inscribed it the great one. Because I think that would be awesome with a Mr. Hockey and the great one. They both have their numbers on it. That would be awesome. That's my only nitpicks. Again, it's a great card. I'm just being very nitpicky.
Should we just pause for Billy to take notes?
Yeah, I'm sure they do not care about this. This card looks great. I mean, I have lots of ideas, but I'm sure no one cares.
Last sale of the 2002 SP Authentic Gretzky Howe dual Sign of the Times auto out of 99 BGS 910 was for $6,900 in the PWCC Weekly Auction in April of 2022. A raw copy most recently sold for $4,500 US. What's the current bid at, Troy?
$1,350 And now that I think about it, it actually should be Tony that's taking notes because this is SP Authentic. Yeah. Boom. All right, next card. We're going to continue our Florida Panther love fest, I guess. But I went with the 2016 Upper Deck the Cup Signature Materials Matthew Tkachuk rookie patch auto out of 99. It does have a PSA 8 grade on it, so just remember that when I'm talking about it. This card has a PSA pop of 1 with none graded higher. Or I always feel that's a weird way to say it, so I said another way. Yeah. This is the highest graded PSA copy of this card. Let me say it that way in plain English. It's important to note that only the card is graded and not the auto. Some people I know care about that. Some don't. I just wanted to let people know in full disclosure. Card looks really, really nice. Has a really nice 4-color patch. Personally, I don't know why the auto wasn't graded. I think the auto looks really nice and clean. Obviously, we talked about Tkachuk before. He's coming off a career year, 40 goals, 69 assists for 109 points. Second straight season of 100-plus points. He's been a playoff machine. Go back to the Who's Hot segment if you forgot everything we said about him.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, no doubt. So here's the interesting thing about this card, and this is the full disclosure part. The exact same card with the same PSA number sold on April 9th, 2023 in the PWCC Weekly for $288. So I'm not sure if someone's trying to do a quick flip or if this previous sale went unpaid.
I'm betting quick flip because now is the perfect time to quick flip this. Oh yeah.
I wrote in the notes, I'm like, boy, I think the seller really picked a nice time to sell this card. I mean, the only other thing is maybe try to wait another series and hope Florida can get to round 3. But
playing
holy
with
cow.
fire, Troy.
Yeah.
Playing with fire.
Yeah, you're playing with fire. But again, so we're going to go with quick flip, but it could have been a previous sale that wasn't paid for. Current bid on this card. I would highly recommend if you're a Tkachuk fan, go look at this thing. Current bid, $220.
Criminal.
All
right, next card is the 2012. You're stuck on Panthers and Tkachuk. I'm stuck on Wayne, I guess. 2012 Fleer Retro Wayne Gretzky Red PMG Precious Metal Gems. That's out of 100, Troy. It's a BGS 8.5, Pop 7 with only 2 graded higher. So, like I said, staying with the Gretzky theme here. Couldn't Resist, though, I think, is really one of his most iconic post-career cards. It's his first PMG. It was funny. So on our last week on our Jeremy Lee YouTube show, somebody had questioned or mentioned that people call cards like this, they're like rookie PMG. And I just cannot disagree with that more. It's his first PMG. You agree with that, Trey?
I don't like rookie PMG. It either had to, I would think, come out in that year or maybe have a picture from his rookie season. I don't know. But
in my opinion, rookie should only ever be used in the first year that the player played.
I agree with you 100%. First year PMG is what I would call this.
Okay, good. Glad we're on the same page. So again, it's his first PMG. PMG Reds, of course, are out of 100. And really a BGS 8.5 is a very high grade
very high
PMG.
Grade.
So this would be a really good copy. It's an interesting photo of Gretzky. It fits the card motif, I think, well, but I'm not sure if it would look great on any other card. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm used to it. He's in a Kings jersey. He's kind of hunched over, carrying the puck.
I gotta say, this hunched over pose. If you remember, I had that OPC Platinum preview from last year of Cole Caulfield. I have never hated a picture more than that card of that picture of Cole Caulfield bent over, looking like Quasimodo, and this kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, okay, so in general, I'm guessing you're not a big fan of this card, but over the last year, have PMGs grown on you at all, or are you still just not about it?
I'm still not about it. I would never turn one down if I found a good deal on one. I think they look fine. I just don't get the hype. I just don't.
Well, speaking of that, like the green versions of this card, which again are the first 10 serial numbers. So there's actually 90 of the reds and 10 of the greens. That makes up 1 to 100. Get crazy expensive. Last October, Troy, a green PMG of this card, it was a PSA 7, sold for $62,400 US dollars. It's a lot of dough. Top sale to date on a 2012 Fleer Retro Wayne Gretzky Red PMG, like the one on the PWCC Weekly Auction, out of 100, BGS 8.5, was $5,040 US dollars this past December. So that was the last sale. Or that was a high sale. Last sale was in March 15th for $37.61. So it has come down a little bit. And again, this might be these high-end cards. They're struggling a little bit right now from a price perspective. And now is kind of goodbye opportunity, I think. You got the current bid?
$1,175 US dollars. I'm going to say something too. This might be blasphemy. I actually like the backs of these cards way better than the front.
you would buy the card and
turn it over,
display it backwards.
I love the backs, little frame or the portrait picture, and it looks kind of like techie and a little bit futuristic. I actually like the backs better than the front.
All right, we do have some hobby news to get to. There's some NHL award finalists that were just announced, Troy. So starting with the Lady Byng Memorial Trophy. And in case you're wondering, The Lady Byng Memorial Trophy is an annual award given to the player adjudged to have exhibited the best type of sportsmanship and gentlemanly conduct combined with a high standard of playing ability. Is that the most nebulous? How do you...
What about just... what's the difference between adjudged and judged? Why do they need the A? Someone that's an English major, English lit, tell me why I'm dumb, because I did not like English class at all.
So Jack Hughes, Anze Kopitar, and Braden Point are the finalists. I don't know, again, like how do you decide which one of those are judged to have exhibited the best type of sportsmanship and gentlemanly conduct combined with a high standard of playing ability?
Does one of those names not look like the other? Jack Hughes. Yeah, Jack Hughes really surprises me there. Not that he's on the ice, sure, but man, afterwards and post game, maybe he's little.
Well, I'm trying to think of an alternative word, but because we're a family show, but he's kind of a D word a little bit in interviews, right?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Is that fair?
Maybe.
Okay, maybe.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I hope he wins. Best for the hobby. I don't think Anze Kopitar's values are skyrocketing anytime soon. No, he is a good player, though. The other award finalists are for the Frank J. Selke Trophy, Troy. The Selke Trophy is awarded annually to the National Hockey League forward who demonstrates the most skill in the defensive component of the game. This is a huge award for the hobby. There's so much chase for defensive forwards out there.
This might be... I'm jumping the gun a little bit. They might have to rename this the Patrice Bergeron Award.
I know. It's that's what I had. Is like the finalists are Patrice Bergeron, Nico Hischier, and Mitch Marner. To me, it feels like an automatic Bergeron retirement award this year, and maybe a consolation prize for getting thumped in the first round and likely his last season. So you're assuming Bergeron wins it too?
I'm assuming Bergeron. It kind of lines up, and I was pretty sad watching the end of that game where he like kind of stayed on the ice and people kind of realize what was going on. I don't know if he's actually officially announced his retirement, or his end of his career. I don't know.
He has not.
Yeah,
he's taking time to decide.
Okay.
It looks like there's going to be some changes from eBay in international shipping, Troy. Some positive ones.
I just got the email today that said they enrolled me in international shipping, and I haven't read it yet.
Well, you're in.
I guess.
I did hear this the other day on Coach Ko's TikTok. Be sure to follow him and check out his amazing videos on TikTok. It's Coach Ko, K-O-E. They are enrolling everyone in their eBay international shipping program, where eBay will, according to Co, handle all returns. So they'll give buyers return labels at no cost if they want to return a card. I don't do a lot of international shipping, so maybe that wasn't available right now. And it sounds like they're also going to work on more economical shipping rates, which amen to that, brother. That would be nice.
I'm curious. I didn't read the email, so I'm guessing if I'm enrolled and I sell a card to, say, Germany, am I going to be able to get some pretty cheap tracking, like the plain white envelope option, or what's it? eBay standard trading envelope in the US? I wonder if they're going to have that as an option, or is it just you're not going to cost you $50 to send the thing to Germany? Will they be a little cheaper? I don't know.
I would be very pleased, especially like US Canada, if it could be like $7, $8, something like that. Wouldn't that be amazing for the hobby?
Well, yeah, and I think the reverse. I don't know if they're rolling
$5 even.
Well, yeah, I don't know if they're rolling this out. Is it just U.S. sellers? But our Canadian friends, it's worse for them trying to ship it to us here in the U.S. It seems like it's a mess.
Well, we'll have to read our emails. Get back to people.
Use Slab Sharks there.
Yeah. Just use Slab Sharks. Don't read your email. Speaking of Slab Sharks, thank them for sponsoring our show. We've been talking about the current Slab Sharks weekly eBay auction now for over a week. It's their biggest one to yet. Kind of their 1 year celebration. They took 1 million submissions at the expo. Be sure to head to slabsharks.com for a link to the auction and check out the huge, amazing cards and bid before it ends tonight. If you've thought of like listening to my advice to do that but never done it, do it now. It is insane. We do
they're
weekly story posts for them. We typically pick like 6 cards that we like. I had a hard time stopping at 8. I could have done like 50. Yeah. Honestly, I'm just blown away by how amazing this auction is. And congratulations to Karn and the team there for doing such a great job. So again, you go to slabsharks.com and get a link to the eBay auction there. If you're a Canadian hockey card collector looking to move some cards for cash, you might want to consider joining the tidal wave that is Slab Sharks eBay consignment. They make selling your cards super easy and take away all of the hassles that make selling your cards yourself a pain. Make selling cards yourself a pain. Jeez. English, Josh. Plus, your cards will be listed in their very popular weekly auctions, and they even ship to the U.S., so you can junk your email from eBay. Don't have to read it. Just use Slabshark, giving you the biggest possible buyer's market. Again, visit slabsharks.com for complete consignment services information. All right, big interview. We haven't talked to Tony Sirianni in a long time from Upper Deck. Tony is the senior product manager, and one of his products is SP Authentic, which the 2021-22 set was just released on April 19th. Getting into tons of great info about this year's set, and so we'll go ahead and roll the interview now. All right, very excited and pleased to be joined by Tony Sirianni at Upper Deck. Are you senior product manager, Billy's supervisor? What's your title?
I think my title at this point is senior product manager or senior department manager.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm just a product manager like Billy. I have some other responsibilities, but yeah, senior product manager works.
Well, it's been a while since we've had the opportunity to talk to you, so we're glad to have you on.
Yeah, thank you. Love it. Thanks for having me back.
And a great topic today because you worked on the recently released, right around the time of the Spring Expo, 2021-22 SP Authentic Hockey.
Yeah.
And have lots of questions there. So maybe we'll just dive right in. And there's a lot of changes this year. You notice that right away. And I guess I want to start with, what were your goals in building this set? Because there was so many changes. So you must have had sort of big kind of objectives or goals that you had wanted to accomplish.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been working a lot with this brand now for quite a while. I mean, I know it's one of the big boys. It's one of my favorites to work on. I understand its place, its importance in the hockey calendar. You know, working on it back since first year for me would have been like 2016-17. So Austin Matthews rookie year. And we just kind of watched, we observe, we see how it's performing. But honestly, we just kind of felt that the last few years, it just felt like there was a lot of packs that just weren't very exciting. I mean, the content is there. The big chase cards are there. The Future Watch autos, everything that people are looking for has always been in the product. But we just started to get a sense that the larger pack format, the larger box, there was just a lot of packs that didn't carry a lot of value. So our thought was, let's bring in the pack amount. Let's reduce the pack amount, but let's deliver more cards per pack and more inserts and more chase per pack. So if someone is buying on the pack level, it should be a much more exciting experience. You're getting more cards, you're getting more chase, more of a chance it's hitting some of those big key elements that we discussed, like Future Watch and some of that stuff. So just trying to keep it fresh, keep it exciting. We're keeping all levels of collectors in mind, whether you're, again, just going into a shop and buying a few packs, or you're going in and buying a full case or getting into a case break online. I still think the product delivers everything that the collector is accustomed to, but now it's in a little bit of a different format.
Mm-hmm. I would echo that sentiment. Last year was really the first year that we dove deep into the SP Authentic product. And I would agree that if you bought a box and let's say the second pack was your Future Watch auto, it did honestly kind of feel like, it's like, oh, well, is the box kind of a little bit over from that rush of that big hit or excitement perspective? Not that the cards weren't cool. And one of the things I love about SP Authentic is I really like the base design. I'm a kind of a minimalist. It's kind of the museum look, the white and silver. I always find the cards interesting from that perspective, but I totally get the new configuration. So it went from, was it 18 packs last year to 12?
That's
Is that what you went? Yep.
Yeah, we're down now to a 10-pack box. Yeah, 9 cards, box. 10. Yep, exactly. Yep. But it is a big reduction. Yeah, I'm used to seeing way more packs with less in those packs. Now you're getting less packs with more in each one. Exactly.
And this kind of also seems to fit the theme of what you guys announced with the changes to flagship starting in the fall, where I kind of feel like this new strategy around configuration, where we're seeing it in SP Authentic, we're going to see it in flagship. I was just looking at, I don't know if you or Billy does Platinum, OPG Platinum, but it seems like that's going to have a similar configuration where less packs, more cards per pack. So it seems like that for at least the foreseeable future, that we can kind of expect that this is a more of a global strategy for you guys.
We're being selective with it. We put a lot of time into it and a lot of consideration. But yes, you mentioned O-Pee-Chee Platinum, and Flagship is another one. I did work on O-Pee-Chee Platinum. I'm very excited for you guys to see that one rolled out with the new configuration. But yeah, same sort of idea. Not every brand needs it, but there are certain ones that we've just, again, over the years, as they continually come out, we want to keep things fresh. We want to make sure that the collector is getting the most out of their box, out of their pack. And like, well, let's face it, you've been to the shows, you've been to the expos. A lot of times you'll see these collectors break these cards and then they'll just leave the base cards behind. We definitely want to deter that. We want collectors to keep everything they're purchasing. You're spending a lot of money on it. We're hoping with the larger pack format, it'll hopefully incentivize collectors to enjoy the whole box, every card within the pack.
Mm-hmm.
But it's certainly not something you'd see in everything. Like there's certain products that the configs are working well and there's no sense in adjusting, but there's other products where they can use a little bit of a refresh. And again, just kind of getting rid of those dead packs. Like a lot of times we'll refer to that. There's a lot of packs that might just have a very commonly found insert or parallel card. So we're just trying to, if you're going to get one of those cards, we want you to get something else in the pack as well, just to add value, essentially. Yes, you will be seeing that in some brands. There's other brands that will continue with the configurations that people are accustomed to.
So we've opened up one box and we did get our Future Watch Auto, I think in the first or second pack. And one of my first comments to Troy after opening the box was that how good of a job you did keeping me invested into the box after getting that Future Watch Auto. Like I felt like, and even if the card isn't worth a lot at the end of the day, and I know that's how a lot of people judge big hits, but we're also very, we like shiny things as people. We're pretty predictable, I guess, and I'm sure you've learned that over your years at Upper Deck. And so it just felt like whether it was a die cut or a foiled card or something like that in every pack, it kept it interesting, even if there wasn't maybe a big monetary hit behind that Future Watch Auto. So I think you did a really good job.
That's great. That's exactly what we were going for. So I'm really glad to hear that, Josh. Thank you for that. And I mean, keep in mind too, you're going to get 2 autos. You're supposed to get 2 autos. Collation's been way better than the previous year's release, as we've chatted in the past, which is good. Yep. It's great to see that progress. But you do still have a shot at a 3rd autograph, which is exciting too, as you mentioned. Maybe you get your Future Watch in the first few packs, but there's still a 2nd auto and potentially even a 3rd auto in those remaining packs. I'm really glad to hear that that's worked and that you guys were excited to continue opening, even if you hit an autograph early on.
Looking at it from the design perspective, did you have like a goal when it came to the design for this release?
Again, like you mentioned a few things aesthetically, like we always want a clean white look. There's usually a lot of heavy white, but we always try to give it more of a futuristic, neo-modern kind of look. So we usually try to keep this one with kind of within that brand look. The design team does a really good job of kind of trying to evolve that without completely reinventing the design look and everything. But yeah, I thought it looked really great. I like the way that we kind of used deco foil to frame the lower portion of the card. The autographs on the Future Watch kind of sit above that in the gold frame or the silver framing at the bottom. The photo selection I thought was really good. The placement, the crop of the image of the rookies, especially on the Future Watch, I thought was really well done this year. So yeah, I mean, my vision with SPA, again, with being such a long-standing brand, is just continue to evolve it in a sense that it looks fresh, but also kind of keep the key elements that collectors are used to. So that it's a delicate balance with this one, but I was really happy with the 21-22 design. It's funny again, and I know I've mentioned it, like we're continuing forward. So in my world, we've now seen 21-22 out in the world. I've seen 22-23 designs, which I think look phenomenal. And crazily enough, I just saw the base for 23-24 SP Authentic, and I think it's even better than the last 2. So again, like we're pretty dialed in with this brand and kind of evolving and keeping the design looking fresh, but still familiar. So yeah, I think the one that you guys are going to see in the next few years is even better than what's come before. Yeah, kudos to the design team. I really can't take a lot of credit for that. They're very good about keeping brands unique and familiar, and I think they nailed it with this year with SP Authentic.
Well, it is a unique design challenge because there is a look to SP Authentic, and you can't go totally off the rails with it, but you got to keep it fresh every year. And so it's like working within a defined set of boundaries, I would think, from a designer. And When will the sell sheet for 2022-23 come out? I assume fairly soon.
Yeah, I was actually asking some of those questions earlier. It should be very soon. Yeah, like we haven't solicited, as you mentioned, but I think you probably will see that here probably in the coming months, if not sooner. Excited to continue to get caught up and get these products out to you guys. I don't have an exact date for you on that, but I don't think it'll be too much longer before you see that one.
And then I suppose there's a chance 2023-24 SP Authentic could be a special one. Or,
I would say
I don't
so.
know. Yeah,
there's a couple. Yeah, there's some names, right? Another Connor on the way. Got some great holdovers already in the mix. Yeah. We're already kind of planning with that, with the Luke Hugheses of the world and such. So yeah, at 23-24 could be massive, but I wouldn't sleep on 22-23 on the way, again, with Beniers and Wright, some of those guys. Their cards are still valuing really well, and obviously Kraken making a run here, it doesn't hurt at all. Yeah, a lot of exciting SPA on the way for sure, but yeah, 23-24, we are very excited for sure. Excited to see that one moving.
Yeah, so I just want to run through, just in case anyone is not familiar with the configuration real quick, sure. And maybe if you have a comment or two. For 2021-22, which came out on April 19th, so just about 2 weeks ago or a little bit more, maybe than that now. Within a hobby box, you get an average 2 autographs per box, but it sounds like up to 3.
That's right.
1 Spectrum FX Bounty card per box. We'll talk about the Bounty program in a little bit. A Autograph Future Watch Auto Rookie card. 8 limited red cards per box. 7 regular pageantry cards per box, which is one of the new inserts we'll talk about. And then 1 numbered base set, numbered insert or rare tech insert card, and and then there's some SP die cuts in there as well. And then the pack configuration, if we didn't already mention it, is 10 packs per box, 9 cards per pack. So a total of 90 cards in a hobby box.
You got it. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. All right, let's talk about some of the new cards. So I don't know if I have a complete list, but do you want to run through I know I have the inserts. Was there anything other than inserts that were new this year in SPF?
Yeah, so we put, we had the die cuts in there this year. We put in the True Leaders insert. And we also had the top rookie. So there was kind of 3 ratioed sort of insert chase. And then there are blue and green parallels of all of those. The greens are pretty rare. So those cards look really nice they have like a nice light effects coverage. So when the color tints come in play with the blues and the greens, they look really sharp. Pageantry, as you mentioned, is a new foil board subset we included. I thought those turned out pretty nice. Again, you mentioned shiny cards. I think we can improve. Personally, I'm looking to improve that card with a different foil pattern, a little different of a look going forward. But I think those there's some great potential there. We also put in our hollow foil cards, SP hollow foils. Those are a case hit, so those are pretty rare. I haven't seen one of those in person yet. I'd like to see one. The rookies in that have carried pretty good value. But again, I'm hoping over time, sometimes when you release, introduce something new, it can take a couple years potentially to kind of get some legs and kind of get those values up on the secondary market. So I'm hoping those hollow foil cards do continue to see some value. But you mentioned Bounty. You do have the Spectrum effects. You'll get a minimum of 1 of those per box. You can get up to 2. The Bounty program's absolutely loaded this year. We did adjust it slightly where you get a set of Bounty achievement cards as opposed to just 1 special card 100. So you actually get 9 cards of stars, legends, and key rookies, along with the gold Spectrum set to 50. And we don't announce it, but it's one of the worst kept secrets at this point. We have also included the black 1-of-1s to our Spectrum effects. So really huge bounty prize for the first 50 to do so. You're going to get your 50 card gold set, serial numbered, as well as 2 random black 1-of-1s. So who knows? You could get a Zegras, you could get Ovi, McDavid, the Detroit rookie kids with Sider and Raymond. Like, it's pretty loaded up. Don't forget about Cole Caulfield. So amongst that gold set and again getting 2 black 1-of-1s, the bounty is absolutely loaded up. So we've been seeing that thing moving pretty well, as it does every year. The SP Authentic Bounty is a big popular program with some great cards at the end of the bounty program. So yeah, that's done really well. Other new cards, I think that's about it for new content. I mean, obviously we have some other unannounced stuff like the Acetate Future Watch and our Acetate Young Guns that are included. Obviously those are always a big chase as well. So yeah, there's a lot of different content, which I love about the product. It's really known for an autograph product, hard signed autos, Future Watch being the key chase. But there is a lot of other content and a lot of other chase elements that I think help it. I think it gives something else that maybe you don't hit the key auto, but maybe you get the case hit, acetate, Future Watch, or Young Gun card. So there's a lot of different buckets of content for collectors to find in here, which is great.
Definitely. So going back to the pageantry cards, I do agree with you a little bit that there is maybe a little area to improve. I think it's a really good start. And the foil is crazy. It's almost like psychedelic on the thing, and
there's a lot of
really
movement.
cool. My only critique would be, and I'm sure it's something that you already know, is that it's a little hard to read the player's name and pageantry on that. And so, but I know we've talked to you guys long enough that when you work on these new cards, you see it digitally.
Yeah.
You talk to the producers, and then at the end of the day, when you see it in hand, sometimes I'm sure cards have exceeded your expectations.
Totally.
And then other times cards have been like, oh, okay, well, here's a learning that we can apply to going forward. But I did, the foil is so trippy on those pageantries that I thought that that's one of the cards that kind of keeps the box interesting beyond the autos itself. And I do like the green parallels as well. I think that those really pop. And so agree with you there. And then you're right on the hollow foils. It looks, from what I saw on the checklist on, I don't know, if Cardboard Connection or a site like that, looks like 1 in 160 are the pack odds for that. So pretty decent chase for them. And you're right, the rookies right now, I think are in the $100 to $200 range for the top guys. You can see, and that's not bad for a new insert. And especially, I think, as people try to get their kind of head wrapped around sometimes the new card and what it is. We saw that with population count, where at first, where now it's a real big card, and people definitely understand the chase within that. At first, you're just, like I said, trying to kind of figure out, and especially if you haven't seen the card in person, and I haven't seen one either. So what does hollow foil mean? Like, what's sort of special about that card, or why would it pop if you hit one in your box?
We wanted to go back to some of that classic hologram tech. I mean, hollow foil cards have had a place in SP over the years, and SP Authentic. I mean, obviously it is mainly known, as we mentioned, as a hard signed auto product, but throughout the years it has had some different bells and whistles and hollow foils and pattern foil cards. So we thought it would be a nice additional tech chase to add in. We went ahead and got a custom hologram pattern created that caters itself specifically to the SP Authentic brand. And, we kind of go from there. So I think you'll see that card going forward. But again, similar to pageantry, I think where you're going to continue to see it kind of evolve, make some adjustments to the, seeing the finished product, seeing how the finished cards look, and kind of just evolve and improve it from there. So you'll continue to see unique holograms in those cards moving forward, and they're going to be a tough chase. We're not going to all of a sudden make those, one per box next year. We want to kind of build the equity and build those up as a new element within the set. We put some tech in there. We definitely did some R&D and worked with some different hologram companies. Continue to keep working on those to improve the tech and to make them more desirable. So happy with year one, but there's definitely some room to keep improving that one as we move forward.
Oh, I have to jump back to pageantry real quick because I'm just curious about this. What's behind the name pageantry? Where did that come from? And I'm just curious on how these cards get named sometimes.
Honestly, probably just thesaurus.com. We spend a lot of time just searching different name ideas, naming conventions. And, I think when I was going through that, I was looking for something with a high-end name, something that seemed elegant and something that desirable, and just the pageantry of the game, the pre-game sort of ceremonies and all of the traditions with hockey. There is a lot of pageantry in the game. So I just thought the name made a lot of sense. And luckily, no one else in the industry was using it. So I was able to get that through our legal team and kind of come up with something unique. So I just thought the name made a lot of sense with a product with SP Authentic. And
then you had mentioned too briefly that there's always unannounced or Easter egg cards. I don't know what you guys officially call them in sets like this. And two of the big ones are the Future Watch acetates and the Young Guns acetate cards.
Yep.
And I'm just kind of curious too, maybe for somebody that's not familiar with Young Guns acetate, how would you explain the difference between that card and a Young Guns clear cut that you might find in flagship?
That's a great question. If you saw them in person, you'd be able to tell immediately. But the easiest way to really differentiate them, a clear cut card is going to be a standard sheet of clear acetate, or what we sometimes call in the industry PETG or APET, which is it's a clear plastic substrate. Yeah. So a clear cut parallel of a Young Gun is going to just be simply that. It's going to be printed on a sheet of acetate as a 20-point card. When you get into the acetate Future Watch, as opposed to a clear cut, you're now going to a thicker card, which is finished will be about 40 point as opposed to 20. So you're about double the thickness. And what we'll do on those cards is we'll create a die cut top sheet. So essentially what that means is the back of the card is still printed with your acetate, but then we will do a die cut rainbow foil most of the time top sheet to create almost a 2-layered laminated card. So your player or other design elements will literally be die cut around and adhere to the acetate back, if that makes sense. I know that's a lot of internal
No, it's good to understand.
Big industry printing tech words, but yeah, it's essentially a 2-piece laminated card versus a 1-piece clear card. So yeah, they have a different look and feel to them. I think they're both beautiful. I think clear cut, I love acetate cards in general, but when you adhere it to that die cut top and there's a little bit of depth and layering to that, I just think it really gives a more impactful sort of hit. So that's really the main difference, is just the way they're constructed, one being 20 point and one being a laminated 40-point card.
And then for the Future Watch acetate, is it a similar manufacturing process or card design process?
Yeah,
exactly. Using that 2-layer acetate and foil a little bit thicker?
Exactly. Yeah. Same print technique to create the acetate Future Watch. Exactly. The design will be unique. Obviously, we always want those to look similar to their standard counterpart, whether it's a Young Gun or a Future Watch card. But then, the design team, again, kudos to them to kind of, how do I recreate this to work as a 2-layered die cut, laminated card? So yeah, I think they do a great job. I'm really happy with the way they turned out this year too.
And those are pretty tough chases, right?
Big chase. Yeah, they're very, very tough. Yeah, again, we don't technically announce them, but collectors kind of come to expect it year over year. And we don't want to pull something like that out of the product that people are looking for. And again, the values are great. I mean, as much as we love the Future Watch autos and the auto patches and everything, like some of those acetate cards, they carry a high price out there. They're very valuable as well. So those are definitely not going anywhere. You'll always see those in SP Authentic, at least some form of that acetate chase in one way or another.
So I have a question along those lines, and just because I never know the answer to this, and maybe there isn't really a technical answer to it, but when you say that we don't announce the print runs or odds for something like a Young Guns acetate, is there a reason for that? Or is that just sort of like hobby, like mythology to some extent, or is there kind of a functional reason for you guys to do that benefits the collector in some way?
I think it benefits the collector because there's more in the product than you guys are expecting. I think it benefits the collector in the sense that there are some surprises. Even for the most savvy, knowledgeable collector, we still want to surprise them. We don't want, I personally I like some sort of Easter egg and unannounced in almost every product if possible. I just think that it adds value, it adds chase, it adds excitement, it adds mystery. There's questions, it creates conversation. I saw last week pretty early on one of the mystery black Zegras Future Watch unsigned sold. And there was a lot of questions in social media. Is it really a one of one? Is it, how many copies are there? It gets that conversation going. It gets people intrigued. I can tell you here that the mystery black unsigned are not one of ones. Okay. I can tell you that. I can tell your listeners that. But I will tell you that there are true limited unsigned Future Watch one of ones in the product. And those were announced. Those were a new element of unsigned content that we've added. So there's a lot of different rare chase, whether it's the mystery black, the true 101. But again, I just think the reason we like to do that is just to really add excitement and intrigue and keep everybody guessing, keep the excitement going. And it just drums up a lot of excitement and conversation. Really, we even heard it at the expo, people pulling some of these cards and going to our booth. Hey, is this a one of one? This card wasn't on the checklist. What can you tell me about it? So, that's what we want to do. want this to be fun and exciting, and mystery and intrigue will add to that. So yeah, that's really 100%. The reason.
I think a note that is important to make on the black parallel versus the limited unsigned Future Watch that is 1 of 1, is just in case anyone's looking, is that the 1 of 1 has limited on the card.
Yes, and it will specifically say 1 of 1. So we try, if we're making a 1 of 1 card, I can't really think of too many situations where we would not serial number that 1 of 1. There again, the mystery black element in SP Authentic's been in there for quite a while now, and collectors have come to understand they're not really 1 of 1s. They're just mystery black parallels that are super, super rare. But that's why we wanted to add some of that. Like this year, you'll notice the Future Watch Auto Patch Black, that is a true 1 of 1. Like it is numbered 1 of 1. The limited, like I said, the limited Future Watch is a true 1 of 1. It is numbered 1 of 1. So we want to convey that to you guys, to the collectors, to the hobby. When it is a true 1 of 1, we want you guys to be very aware of that immediately. But it is fair to say if something's a mystery black where it's not really being announced, it's still pretty darn rare. There's not a lot of those out there. Again, without getting into full details, like the unsigned mystery black Future Watch cards, there are less than 20 of each of those cards. So like the Zegras that's out there's not a lot, like 20 or I would say less than 20 is an accurate statement.
When I do kind of just lingering on this for a second, how this sort of whole topic has stuck with me is as I was preparing for our conversation, was looking at some sales and did see some acetate Young Gun sales, and they're, like you said, selling for very well. Yeah. And a lot of people had SSPs for super short print buy it. And I'm telling you, I think about and research and learn this hobby every day, and I've been collecting my whole life, and I still don't know if I understand the difference between short print and super short print. And so I always wonder if that's labeled correctly when a seller on eBay will do that. And I know you don't control the hobby and what's considered short print or super short print, but I'm just kind of curious. It's like, how do I tell if I see an eBay listing that has a Young Guns acetate and somebody says super short print? How do I know that? Again, you don't control what somebody creates on the listing, but how would I verify that actually is a super short print? Or really with unannounced cards that aren't on the checklist where you don't disclose the odds, you never really have a fail-safe way to kind of understand where that definition falls.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we certainly can't control what someone puts in their eBay listing, whether they tell you it's an eBay 1 of 1 or an SP, an SSSSP, or an SSP, right? I mean, really, people are going to pick their listings and hopefully prop up and get people excited about their auctions. But yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that they're SSPs. They are super short printed cards. You really don't see them out there very often. But I just think it's easier to use that denomination when there's also an SP somewhere in the mix. If you have an SP versus an SSP, I guess with a product with SP in the title, that can kind of lend itself to that. You know, maybe that's something we can start doing on checklists, is try to maybe provide that info as when we want something classified as an SP or an SSP. But I don't think there's any perfect way of doing that. That's just someone choosing to use that verbiage or that kind of soundbite of an SSP. But I do think it's fair, and knowing how rare those cards are, I would definitely think calling them a super short print is fair, is an accurate statement in that situation for sure. Yeah.
Sellers are always going to push the limits, right, of what they think they can get away with when, like the whole eBay 101 thing that most of us cringe at.
Oh, of course. I laugh at it, but yes, it's hard when you're looking for that one card, and there's all sorts of weird other added words to the title to help their listing and help it stand out. But it's just doing your research, do your homework before you go out and purchase high-end cards, and email our customer service team and, ask some questions if you're making a big investment. We're happy to give you whatever information we're able to provide to kind of help make sure you make the right decisions out there in the hobby.
Okay, I want to transition a little bit to the Future Watch autos themselves. So one of the big things that most people have noticed right away is that a number of big guys are redemptions this year. So you have Trevor Zegras, Mo Sider, Lucas Raymond. I'm not sure if there's one or two more. I don't have the complete list in front of me, but is that just down to player availability of getting the, boy, I feel like I know your guys' job a little bit right now, getting the set out versus, God forbid, using sticker autos on a Future Watch auto, which you've seen how that goes over with people. So
right.
it must be just, you just couldn't get the card signed in time to get the set out. Is that the reason?
Yeah, I mean, SP Authentic is it's the biggest auto need product we produce. I mean, you need more autos probably, and that might not be, I think it's fair to say you probably need more autos for this product than anything else we produce in the calendar year. It is a ton of autos. Again, guarantee of 2 per box. Case with 16 boxes this year. It's a lot of autos really quick, right? So it's a daunting task for our coordinator team, for our talent acquisitions team to get all these guys to sign cards. And it doesn't help when we get behind either. You know, we've talked, I'm sure Billy's talked about that. I've talked about that. Everything that went on through the pandemic is we're still trying to claw our way out and get caught up. You know, the more time goes by, it's harder to get a guy to sign a card that's a year or two old. If it's their rookie year's over or they're in season playing, it's really hard to get guys to commit to sign cards. So yeah, there's a lot of different factors, but I can tell you good news with this one is that 2 of the big names you mentioned, Zegras and Sider, have both already returned their cards. So unfortunately, we weren't able to get them live into the packs for you guys. But if you do have a redemption for Zegras or Sider, it's going to be a quick turn, and those cards are going to be back in the collector's hands, the actual signed Future Watches, very quickly. So that's
gotcha.
I do feel better about that. And I can also tell you with upcoming releases like OPG Platinum, which is another hard signed and another big auto need, your one hard signed rookie auto or other auto per box. We are issuing that product with 0 redemptions.
Great.
We did pretty well on that one. So again, the big boys that are in SPA, luckily you're going to get those cards back. And when OPG Platinum comes out here very soon, you will have 0 redemptions in that product. So I think that's going to feel pretty good in that sense.
So if you hit a Trevor Zegras or Moritz Sider Future Watch auto, you could expect that you'll get that redemption fulfilled sooner than later. Is that a good way to put it?
100%. Yep. 100%. Okay. Yep.
And then another thing that I've noticed and others have noticed is in the Future Watch auto patch cards, there is not a Mo Sider or Lucas Raymond card on the checklist. Is there a reason why there?
Honestly, when we get to the pack out and we're making the decisions of what should be issued as a redemption and what should just not be issued as a redemption is, again, for liability, for concern of potentially not being able to honor the card. At the time, it made sense for us to not include those cards. That doesn't mean you won't see them, though, because as you know, there is past project cards. So there's a good chance in 2022-23, those cards may appear in those checklists as past projects. So yeah, unfortunately, we didn't think the risk was worth it based on what was going on at the time of pack out. But again, like I mentioned with Sider and Zegras, like things are looking up. So I wouldn't rule out that you don't ever see those cards down the road. But unfortunately, yes, they were not included within our 21-22 checklist.
Gotcha. There's also, well, okay, I want to get back to the autographs real quick. And I hadn't realized this before, but you're right. If you think of just the Future Watch autos, and given that there's, basically 1,000 of them, and I think there's 100 rookies in the checklist. So just right there, you're starting with 10,000 autos. If I can do my math right. I'm COVID delirious right now. But and then you have tons of other like veteran autos and other rookie card auto products. So is it safe to say that, I don't even know if you've done the math, but there's got to be 12, 13, 14,000 autos probably in this set. Wow.
It's a lot of autos. Yeah. And again, you got to be careful with the balance and burning out athletes too, right? Because as you mentioned, the Future Watch, which many years before I was here, someone set that card number to 999, and we've been off to the races ever since. But that's basically 1,000 autos, basically right there from a player's contract, a rookie contract. Is that card? So yeah, we've got to be very strategic and just make sure we got all our ducks in a row to make sure we have enough autos and we don't burn out athletes and upset athletes. Because it can get hard when you're signing all these cards. So there's definitely a delicate kind of balance to all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's a big ask for these guys to sign the Future Watch cards.
And then kind of transitioning to some of the retro stuff. So there's a number of retro subsets within here.
Yep.
And just in general, how do you approach retro subsets within like a set like SP Authentic? Is there a template that you use or a pattern that you use, or you just research old sets and kind of whatever mood
we've
fits
been
the
into
design?
I mean, every brand is different. Sometimes there might be just a really classic design that was done from a certain brand that we just, we got to do more of that. You know, like I think of the 0304 Exquisite design or the 0910 Exquisite, right? Like you see those almost every year in like a Goodwin Champions or the Cup, Black Diamond, like some of those higher end sets. You're always going to use those classic designs. SPA, because it has such a long brand history, I always try to go for like anniversaries. So it's usually a 10-year anniversary and a 20-year anniversary. That's kind of our thought process and like our cadence with retros. So if you notice that the year's retros will always be 10 and 20 years prior, which is incredible that we have such a long brand history. We can do that. And there's a lot of really cool designs, and there's some really interesting kind of strange designs over the years of all of these different iterations. So I think it's fun. I know some people, obviously, I've heard you'd much rather just pull a new future watch as opposed to a retro future watch. But again, it helps for the player to be signing different cards. It helps for the collector to be collecting different cards. There are reasons for it. It just gives more variety, more chase. If you're a big player collector, ideally you'd want their new future watch as well as their retro future watch and their limited and their retro auto patch or their new auto patch. So it's just more cards of key players, key rookies, just more chase element essentially. But yeah, for this one, we usually go with the anniversaries for the reason behind the retros.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I'm looking through the checklist, and with the Immortal Ink autographs set, so there's 8 players on the checklist, legends of the game, we'll call them, numbered to 10. Is that one of the toughest auto chases you think in the set, or is there a tougher?
Yeah, Immortal is a big one. Yeah, that thing has been around for a long time. That's a long-standing one. We have slightly adjusted the serial numbering on that in the past, and we've been told don't do that. Keep them at 10. Keep them really rare. Collectors enjoy that. So yeah, those are some of the rare. Obviously, the multi-sign cards, Sign of the Times, 4s and 6s and 8s, those are just amazing. Those are some of the lower numbered, super, super rare cards as well. But yeah, again, you just go on and on. Again, there's limited auto patch with the different tiers that are super tough. Inscribed auto future watch, which again carries such a huge premium. When we introduced that, with the first 50 being inscribed with their debut date, I mean, there's a lot of different things to look for in this product, which I think that's what makes it such a hit every year. People love that.
So I saw a couple social media comments, and I think it's worth bringing up just because I would be shocked if this is the case, but just to maybe to debunk some online conspiracy theories or rumors at times. But
love it.
I've seen a couple of people say that people at Upper Deck actually write the inscribed dates on and not the player.
No, that's not true.
Yeah.
That's
I figured
not true. I mean, we definitely get. Sometimes the players will look at us and like, well, what are you asking us to sign? And sometimes we'll have to remind them, hey, that was your first NHL game. Oh, cool, and like they'll do it. That's definitely not true. We don't add the inscriptions. I think their signatures look a lot better than when they're writing out something, in print as opposed to cursive sometimes. But it's definitely done by the player, and we have reps there. We make sure that this stuff is getting signed by the athletes and inscriptions are being done by the athletes. So yeah, that's definitely not true.
Another thing I noticed on some of the vet autos, like going back to Immortal Ink real quickly. So Wayne Gretzky in this set, and I believe it's in almost every case, is that you guys made the decision to go with the All-Star Gretzky for this year SV Authentic. And just curious as to what was behind that choice, or...
I'd have to ask the coordinator, particularly who built the product, but I'm assuming they probably just wanted to keep it fresh. I mean, we've done so many Gretzky cards over the years, and he's the key guy that we want to keep. We want to keep it exciting, just like the other elements we chatted about. So I'm sure their thought was, let's give him an all-star card just to mix it up a little bit, give him something different.
And then, I guess the only other thing that I had before we kind of get into real quick, like what's coming up next and what you guys are working on,
Sure.
is we had mentioned the bounty program. Just if anyone isn't aware, you go to upperdeckbounty.com and you can see all of the information on that as far as like what can be redeemed, what the achievements are. It looks like there's 17 left. So do you remember how many that started with?
Started at 50. Yeah. Wow. So they're going. Yeah. It's like I mentioned, it's a popular program every year and the pricing is phenomenal. So I wouldn't doubt those go pretty quick. Good luck to everybody out there who's trying to put that together. And then hopefully you guys are, hopefully you're one of the winners of that. But yeah, again, upperdeckbounty.com, you can take a look at the full set, full rundown of how it works. My one recommendation would be anyone who's doing the bounty, I would make sure you have the full set before you scratch the codes, because it's difficult and you might get halfway through and decide, you know what, I can't finish it. I can't find the cards I want, or moving on to something else. So keep those unscratched because they will hold a lot more value in trade or selling, as long as you still have the code intact. So I would make sure you're fully built, you have the whole thing, and then go to our website and enter in all those codes. And very excited to see what you guys get when you do so.
That's great advice too. And I think to a little bit of a piece of companion advice to that, with these bounty programs, if you don't want to do the bounty, if that's not something that interests you and you do pull a bounty card, best is to sell them right away, because like we've seen with this and other sets, people jump on it right away.
Oh yeah.
And those cards will have the most value that first day, because there's guys that are and gals that are out there trying to be one of the first. And because sometimes you guys give even more awards for being the first, second, or third people to complete the program. So it is a race to some extent.
Exactly.
To get it done.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing with this program and all of our bounties is even if you miss out on the first tiering of prizes, you can always still go get the bounty set. It's going to be loaded up. It's 9 players deep. It's got the key rookies in there. But yes, there is a race to it. But even if you are one of those next 50 or so, we make enough sets that mathematically, if you build out the full set, you'd at least be awarded with the 9-card bounty set. So yeah, there's something for everybody there if they choose to do so.
Well, anything else on SP Authentic? Oh, actually, I do have one question, which is something that I honestly don't even know the answer to, which is kind of crazy. I'm sure 90% of people do, but just in case somebody doesn't, what does SP stand for?
I've heard a couple different things over the years because I've asked that question. I've heard Super Premium is the one that I hear the most. Is that Super Premium Authentic was the original thought behind SP. Back when it was created back in the late 90s. Yeah. Super Premium was the initial, but I've heard a lot of different things, special, short print, but yeah, the one that I hear the most from some of the old guard of Upper Deck, they say that it was Super Premium.
So it is a little bit of a mystery, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've been asking that one for years, but the one I do hear the most is Super Premium.
Gotcha. Okay, so what's next? What are you working on that's coming up soon? Is it Platinum? Is that sort of the next release on your docket?
For me, OPG Platinum should be coming your way hopefully sooner than later.
Is the checklist out? I didn't have time to check today. Is the checklist out for that or no?
Checklist is not quite out for that one. I don't have a confirmed release date for you guys. Otherwise, I would absolutely provide that. But it's coming soon. Like we have in our world relaunched the product. It is in the works of getting collated and packaged and ready to be out there. So yeah, that one is definitely coming soon.
And then beyond Platinum, what else have you been working on?
Boy, in my world, I recently wrapped up 2024 Goodwin Champions. So again, very excited. 22 Champions will be on the way soon. Very excited to get that one out. What else have we been working on? A lot of different things. I've been working on a lot of entertainment stuff, honestly, recently. Yeah. Some Marvel stuff. Can't dive into a lot of that, but some pretty exciting new cinematic things, as well as a few other publishing Marvel sets that I think will be met with a lot of excitement. So can't get into too much detail, but I would say, in the next couple of months, be on the lookout for OPG Platinum, Goodwin Champions, and there should be a few other hockey releases on the way too. I'd have to dive in with the other product managers, but yeah, we're going to keep them coming. I mean, we released quite a bit in March and April. We got a lot of products out. And I think we'll continue to see that here over the next few months. So yeah, it should be a fun, exciting summer with a lot of new content on the way for you guys.
That really leads into my last question. And it really seems like the last 4 months, you guys have been pumping stuff out pretty regularly. So where would you put where you guys are at getting caught up? right now. Do you think that you've made significant progress? Are we halfway there to getting caught up, or how would you put it?
Yeah, I'd have to look at a list of everything to really give you like a percentage of how far we are caught up. But I'd say from the last time we spoke, we're in a lot better shape. I know it's been a while, but I would say realistically, yeah, probably it's, our goal is to see ourselves caught up by 2024. I think is really the hope we can get. You're seeing 22, 23 products coming out, and the goal is to have 2020. 23, 24 kind of back on track. That is the goal. Obviously, there's a lot that has to go into that for us to get there. Yeah, I'd say a year or less, we're getting there. And I think, again, by the goal for 23, 24 would be we're kind of back up and running, back to normal kind of release timing. So appreciate everybody's patience. And I know it can be a lot when there's all these products coming out stacked on top of each other, but we'll get there. I think we're digging out. I think we're making a good progress, as you mentioned, over the last 3-4 months. So, I'd say let's keep looking like the next 6, 7, 8 months from now. And I think we're going to be even better shape than we are here. So yeah, we're getting there. We're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, with some of that stuff and getting our plans in place. But yeah, it's a lot. And as we continue to go on, it's tricky because we're still trying to keep the new products on time. As we got O-Pee-Chee out, MVP out. Like those products are 22, 23 sets coming out in the year of that season. Yeah. So yeah, we're making good progress for sure.
It would seem to me to be a balancing act where if the goal is only to get caught up as soon as possible, you'd be releasing sets probably every week. And at some point you would burn the market out doing that. You have to slow play it a little bit, I would assume. Yep. And that's why, to me, it makes sense that a year or so is probably a realistic timeline.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Tony. Really, really appreciate you jumping on. A great job with 2021 SP Authentic. Troy and I both really liked it. Appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Sounds good, Josh. Thanks again, man.
Okay, Troy, you weren't able to be there for the interview, but you did do all the editing of it. So what did you think of, you learn anything?
I did. I learned the breakdown of what's the difference between a clear cut and an acetate. That was very interesting to me. And I can't remember now what it's called. What did SP stand for again? What he thought SP stood for?
Super premium?
Yeah, something like that. That was a little interesting tidbit. I just love these interviews because you hear about, you always started off, what was your goal at the set? What were you trying to do? And I find that stuff very interesting. And also when you talked about the retros, I didn't know that it's usually on a 10 or 20 year cycle when they try to go
anniversary
when they go back and look at, maybe some retro designs to use. I thought that was very interesting too. I think Tony's great. He has a ton of information, answered all our questions. So I really appreciate Tony coming on and chatting with us.
Yeah. Thanks again, Tony. Really appreciate it. Great information there. Okay, Troy, new product releases. So you got to keep me on the track here because I might go off the rails.
Oh,
so frustrated with when products come out because of course, right. I haven't seen any checklists left yet. Have not seen any checklists yet. We of course have been predicting that O-Pee-Chee Platinum might be next, and then it gets pushed to June. That's the one, I guess, bit of news. So if you want to message us any sets you don't want to come out soon, just let us know and we'll predict them, and it'll be 2-3 months down the road when they come out. And it really is bothering me more and more that this is always a giant mystery. I find it super annoying, to be honest. I don't think you can make, Troy, any valid argument that it's beneficial to anyone in the hobby to never know what products are coming out until basically a few days before they're like a week before they're released. Let's put our business hats on for a second. You got your business hat? Okay, I'm putting my business hat on.
I have my business hat.
Okay, great. If you're like a local card shop or anything to do in the hobby where you're selling cards, how do you do any like promotional planning or business planning around release? The only planning time frame you can have is like 10 days.
Yeah.
For anything that you do in an entire year. If I honestly could change anything at UD right now, actual like release dates that are reasonably firm, I get stuff happens, right? But it's kind of like a movie release. Like, why can't they be like a movie theater release schedule where you have 3 to 6 months? It doesn't have to be like 7 years from now. And you just kind of stick to it. That would be amazing because we, like, as a show, we could plan for that and plan content around all that stuff. And honestly, this is a huge example of why I don't like monopolies of any kind. And I know there's reasons why it happens, and it's Upper Deck is doing the best they can. They're not trying to annoy me. Well, maybe they are, but Billy is, but I don't know. But the fact is, Troy, when you don't have competitive pressure, there's literally zero incentive to fix anything like this. Why would they?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's either, well, you get hockey cards or you don't. That's kind of the situation we're in. And again, I'm not trying to say this in a way to bash Upper Deck. It's human nature. It's any company. When you don't have competition, you don't do the hard work to fix things that you don't have to. Anybody would do it. And it right now, it just feels like take it or leave it when it comes to like when hockey cards come out. And again, I think we're really lucky that with a monopoly, we have Upper Deck, because I think by and large, they generally care very much about making good sets and the quality that comes out and everything. So, and I know that they're doing their best to get caught up and all that stuff, but I don't know. I just want this fixed. It's bugging me. It's never understanding what's coming next. Okay, rant over. I still love you, Upper Deck. But am I like off base here, or?
I don't like it either. I've come to accept it. It's just how they operate. I wish it would change. I loved your analogy to the movies. I use video games. Most movies, video games, they give a release date. Guess what? They might not hit it. They might not hit it 50% of the time because of issues that come up. But at least you can have a date set, and if something comes up, then explain why, and we all move on. It is kind of nuts that it's just you find out, a checklist drops, and then 7 to 10 days later, the cards come out. I think it is. It's kind of crazy, and it seems counterintuitive, but maybe there's something to it. Maybe what have we seen in the music industry, though? There's a trend now towards just dropping records when they're done. You're not even saying it's coming out. You just drop it. Like I think Beyonce did it. It seems like
maybe we're dumb. And
well, there could be. I mean, I'm guessing they've done some stuff around it. But again, I'm with you. I want release dates. It would help us. I think it would definitely help shops. No, but maybe the shops have given them feedback that it doesn't affect them. I don't know. We don't know the inner workings. No. We can just use our vantage point to kind of look inside and say what we see.
Fair enough. All right. Listener mailbag time. Got lots of questions, lots of good ones. So we'll get right into it. First question is from Instagram, Pivot Hockey 2.0. Will PSA 9 ever be worth 25-50% more than ungraded cards, or will it always stay relatively close? I'll actually take this one first, Troy, and then let you chime in, because I kind of have a lot to think about this one. I think as it relates to the hockey hobby in particular, this question is getting more and more tricky, because we have so many of these cards now that are outliers almost, where they never get 10s anyways, like a PMG, some of the most important cards in hockey. They're not graded or off of even PSA 9. Or the other thing too about most of the most valuable hockey cards is they're the very thick memorabilia patch auto type cards that don't grade well either. So I think that if we're going to try to come up with a ratio for PSA 9, that it's really most applicable to the standard like a Young Guns. What's that point? Is that like a 20-point card or 30-point card, or I don't remember.
25 maybe. I don't know.
25 point. All right, we'll split them up. Difference. You know what we mean?
Yeah.
So maybe you could include like OPG Platinum, OPG Paper, that sort of thing. But the main one, in my opinion, still be the Young Guns. And this is where I think, as we've learned more and more about how Young Guns values work in the secondary market, it's largely 10 or bust.
Mm-hmm.
I think the exceptions are for cards that are maybe like a PSA 10 Young Guns that's worth $500 or more, or if the gem rate is greater than or less than 50%, right? There might be more of a PSA 9 opportunity and higher multiple for raw if you get a really good player like Trevor Zegras and he plays super well like next year or the year after, and his gem rate is still less than 30%, right? Then a 9 is going to be more valuable. But for a Jack Hughes, whose gem rate is, 75%, mm-hmm. a PSA 9 is going to be worthless.
Yep.
I guess long story short, to me, it's a case-by-case instance, not where a standard ratio or rule of thumb can apply. Your thoughts?
I think you have great thoughts. I said maybe this was a research project sometime down the line for us.
Oh, okay.
I added work to our schedule there.
Great. Thanks for that. All right, next question. Instagram, Father-Son Slabs. What is the hockey equivalent of Prism Gold or Topps Chrome Gold for a player? Well, Panini did produce Prism hockey cards for 2 years in 2012 and 2013, so there are Prism Golds for players who played during those releases. Since then, I would say Seismic Gold from OPG Platinum would be the closest equivalent. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Next question from Facebook, Alex McDonald. Why doesn't SP Authentic Acetate Young Guns have the extended cards? They also seem to do it for only Series 1 and Series 2. Great question. We actually reached back out to Tony Sirianni and asked him this, Alex. Here's what he said. He said, typically the Estate Young Guns are derived from Series 1, Series 2. We could consider adding extended Young Guns in the future, though, ... I'm taking that as if there's like a really good player that they just do it by who has the most hype.
Yeah.
And you're not typically going to have a super hyped guy in extended series, with the exception of our boy Akira Schmid, who's taking the world by storm.
Yep.
All right, next question. Instagram just handles Sports Cards 71. Prediction on the market for Tage Thompson going into the off season. Like every NHL player, you'd expect his card prices to dip. I haven't looked, but I'm sure they are already because he's not in the playoffs. And then ultimately probably 15 to 30% by mid-July when we hit the crater of the off-season dip. Do you like that term crater? You talk like the peak of the market. So what's a great word to describe the bottom of the off-season dip?
Marianas
Crater is the best way. I don't like that.
Crater's fine.
We're good. Then right before the season starts, I'd expect his prices to rebound. Again, like they typically do with players, as the hype and hope is at its apex for the new season. For Thompson specifically, I think there'll be a lot of hype for him in early mid-November based on, number one, his breakout season, and number two, the expectation that the Sabres should be a playoff team next year. You high on Thompson for next year?
High on Thompson. I would love to see him dip some, and might be a buying opportunity because obviously not in the playoffs. Maybe some people kind of forget about him. We'll see.
I don't know if you know this, but I traded one of our cards that we have listed on my card post for a Thompson Young Guns.
Nice.
You're welcome, Josh.
Thank you.
Or thank you, Josh. Okay. Instagram, Judgy99. Predictions, perhaps premature. Biggest hobby bounce backs for next season. Just thinking about those who have recently been bounced or didn't make the playoffs. Personally, I think Tage Thompson is still underrated and due for a breakout season on a young, exciting Sabres team next year. Boy, Thompson, on the top of a lot of people's minds. I would argue he probably had a breakout this year, but it's just more, can he take it to the next level next year? We're going to dig deep into this after the season because we'll need stuff to talk about this summer, of course. But I do think players like Thompson and Tim Stützle could have big years if their teams can get over the hump and into the playoffs. And the other bounce back category that I think of are players that were injured this year or had down years. So could like a Josh Norris be a candidate? Cole Caulfield, of course, on like the injury side. Then you have on the maybe who didn't play the greatest or have the best years, like Zegras, McTavish, Sider, Raymond, Spencer Knight, Swayman. Well, Swayman played well, but
Knight entered the treatment program.
Next question, Instagram, Kenny B. Cards. Who are you looking for this offseason? Okay, Troy, I'll let you start.
Yeah, so I get to answer just because my PC guys. Who I'll be looking for? Pekka Rinne, Mike Bossy, Lindbergh, Pelle Lindbergh, Jake Ottinger. I am looking to continue to build my best player to wear each number collection, but I am going to make a valiant effort to use our show's advice around the off-season dip and see if I can find good pickups on the cheap. If I do see a dip, this would include the likes of Tim Stützle. I can never get that right.
Sure.
Rupa. I was going to say Rupee because that's Legend of Zelda.
Okay, 0 for 2.
Jason Robertson, I got that one, and Ilya Sorokin. And again, any of my personal.
50%.
Yeah. I'm going to find some off-season dip stuff, and I want to make some good purchases there.
Okay, so Kenny B, what are we looking for this offseason? Well, wouldn't you like to know? Just kidding. Stützle, probably my big target. Caulfield, the guy I'm looking at, bouncing back from his injury. Also looking for really any nice OPG Platinum cards. And 90s inserts.
Yep.
Next question, Instagram, Top Shelf Cookie Sniper 88, one of our favorites. How does a first-round debacle affect the value of stars like Pastrnak and Allmark? From a Pastrnak perspective, I feel like given his regular season, the fact his pop counts are low, on his Young Guns, there's so few rookie autos that his values will be fine. Allmark probably loses the most because I just think if there's a percentage of people that were looking at his year wondering, is this just flash in the pan kind of thing? Or is this the Linus Allmark or Linus Allmark or whatever his name is that we'll see going forward? He might have been injured, so that could be a factor, but his performance wasn't very confidence building in round one. Now, Troy, I think if you're an Allmark guy, this is kind of good news, as it could mean a very less competitive summer, better prices during the buying season and the off-season dip.
Agreed.
Next one, Instagram, Dan opens cards. That's a great name.
Hey, I like Troy opens cards. I do that too.
What is the best hobby box for the money? Autos, memorabilia being the priority.
I love this question.
This is an easy one for us, Dan.
Easy I'll answer. For sure.
I really love SP Signature Edition Legends and feel more confident in getting a positive ROI opening that product than almost any other product I've ever opened or that I can think of. Not that you're going to win every box. You certainly are not. But it is the best, I would say, bang for the buck product out there. What are your thoughts?
I agree 100%. I take a very contrarian view of this question. It's like, is there really a good hobby box for the value? Now I know he says best, but as we've proven many times on this show, you're not going to get rich ripping boxes open. I think.
And you're a guy that opens a lot of.
I open a ton of boxes.
So you're not knocking.
No, I'm not knocking. I love ripping boxes open. It's so therapeutic, and I love doing it with my kids. It's just awesome. I mean, would you put OPC paper on this? Super cheap.
I would, but he said autos and memorabilia.
Oh, sorry, I missed that part. Yeah, autos and memorabilia. Maybe. Well, then you're maybe looking at our viewpoint at the expo, buying a box of SPA 21-22 SPA for $180, and you're getting 2 autos. Yeah. I mean, that's probably, is that the cheapest box you can get 2 autos out of that we guarantee 2 autos? Because some of them are be like 1 auto and maybe you'll get another auto or something else. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah. Okay. So that's
maybe artifacts. I'm not a huge artifacts guy, but a lot of it's game. There's tons of memorabilia, lots of autos. They are stickers usually, but it is game used.
True.
Next question, Gong Show Discord from Spencer. Are there any players currently in the playoffs who you've picked up or are very, very tempted to pick up out of playoff hype, even though doing so would be contrary to general advice to wait for buying season in July?
I'm trying to follow our advice, so I'm going to answer first.
Yeah, I'm staying strong. I have no temptation because I know that whatever card you want, whatever Akira Schmid card you want right now, or Brandon Montour, or whomever it might, or Jack Hughes, whoever it is, it's going to be cheaper in July. Yeah. And I'm just going to wait.
That's what I said too. I'm not buying the hype. I'm going to try to hold strong and wait for the offseason dip.
Okay, next question from Instagram, Indigenous Rookie Cards. How has Brandon Montour's regular season plus playoff performance impacted his hobby values? Also, is it too late to go back and change the greatest to wear number 62 on episode 62? You want to re-record episode 62, Troy?
Hey, he just put a vote in for him to be on the next iteration. I don't know. I still, like I said last time, we got to think what we're going to do. If I'm going to go through it again, do we put it up for a vote to the community, ask them what people think?
I think we will.
Yeah.
Like we talked about in Who's Hot, there's so few Young Gun PSA 10s that what I'm most interested to see is what happens with pop count there over the next few months. Will it go up just a little bit? Will it go up a lot? I don't even know how many people have 2016, a bunch of Young Guns in their Commons boxes right now anyways. He's still relatively cheap overall. On March 30th, Troy, as an example, a 2016 rookie exquisite RPA out of 71, because it's always out of their jersey number, sold for $95 as an example. I think that was the highest sale this year.
Okay. That's a good deal.
Next question, Instagram. Time for hockey cards. Tinfoil hat time. Okay, we got to take off our business hats and put on our tinfoil hats now. With the QC issues and flagship in the past few series, do you think this is just a matter of UD contracting cheap printing companies, or is it an intentional effort at artificially reducing gem rates? I personally don't think there's a conspiracy theory to lower gem rates at all. I know there's less printing facilities overall. It's getting more competitive. I'm sure there's a big threat of Fanatics buying some, so it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. I'm sure costs have gone up, and UD's probably just trying to navigate all those factors. Now, at the end of the day, though, that's kind of their problem. I don't mean that in a bad way, but that's, as consumers, we just want good cards, right? And hopefully they're working on whatever issues that they have to kind of fix those. It also brings back up the question, though, of what is the ideal gem rate? And I really see this being a big and fun off-season topic for us to dive. Like, we dove last year into the dip and really tried to understand that. I don't know what you think, Troy, but this is one of the things. Is it good that a gem rate's 75%? Is it bad that a gem rate's 20 or 30%? Really trying to understand and formulate an opinion around that this summer. What are your thoughts?
Agree 100%. And remember, I know you kind of mentioned this, but there is only a handful of companies of these printing facilities. And there's a bunch of companies vying for time on the printers. We've heard that from Billy and Tony and Upper Deck. So I don't think there's any conspiracy. I think it's just a matter of trying to get through as fast as they can. Maybe not. I don't know how it comes down to like the cost of printing, but how you cut. I know Billy's mentioned it in some interviews, how the different types of cuts there are and what you go with. So I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it just comes down to the whole manufacturing process of the cards.
Okay, from Instagram, Nate Stangler. What is the best quote unquote source to sell cards to receive the highest return. Well, Nate, maybe I'm reading into this too much, but I think it depends on what you define as highest return. Like, is it most money or is it highest profit? So I'll try to throw a little love to our sponsors here, some options. So if you're Canadian, Nate, Slab Sharks is awesome for eBay consignment. PWCC is a great option for like higher value cards or especially vintage cards. They do super, super well. And then if you're just looking to maximize profits, we have a newer partner, My Card Post, that has a marketplace where you pay a subscription. It's like as low as $10 a month. And then you don't have seller fees when you sell cards. So you keep more of the profit. You can do trades and other stuff on their platform too. So those are three that we would recommend, but there's lots of other platforms out there. Like, of course, like Golden and just eBay in general or Heritage.
Yeah, think about it.
Are ones that you would look at.
Yeah, think about it. If you want the biggest market, eBay. That's going to give you the most buyers, the most eyeballs. If you want no fees, like truly no fees, you're probably going to go the route of either social media, Facebook groups, Instagram, obviously. Again, I'm going to say this 100 times. If you go the social media route, only do PayPal goods and services. Yeah. No friends and
the only way you're protected.
Don't do friends and family because you're not protected there.
We had a late breaking question come in. We're both going to have to answer on the fly here, Troy.
I love this.
From Instagram, Amp Cards. No, this is not the one you're thinking of.
Oh, it's not.
This is the preamble.
Oh, this isn't even in the notes. I don't even see it. All right.
No, it's not. It's on the phone, bro. Regular Young Guns versus silver foil / rainbow foil print runs. Mm-hmm. So there is no defined print runs for silver foil or rainbow, which is sometimes called rainbow speckled foil, because those are EPAC achievement cards that you get by combining regular Young Guns. You combine 5 regular Young Guns, you get a silver foil. Or is it 10? Oh, geez.
I don't know.
Go to EPAC and it tells you that you combine regular Young Guns, you get silver foil. You combine so many silver foils, you get a speckled rainbow. So AMP, there is no defined print runs on those. But because you're essentially burning lots of Young Guns, it makes that they're fairly rare. Okay, now the last question.
Yep.
From Facebook, Dave Preston. Can we go to VAR? What does that stand for, VAR?
It's the video... It's like the replay system. I think don't they say that in soccer? Is it VAR replay or something? I'm going to find it.
Okay.
Video.
Okay, so can we go
to assistant referee?
Can we go to the video assistant referee for the most recent episode last week and confirm, this is very controversial, if Troy was saying Subban or Supan? Maybe it's the Minnesota accent. So once again, Troy, you find yourself embroiled in a major show controversy. I'll give you the photo. I was wondering if we should schedule we haven't done a press conference in a while. This might have been a press conference moment, but I'm just going to turn the floor over to you. I want this to be your words, come from the heart.
Yep.
What do you have to say about this?
I said it's probably the accent because I looked up the phonetically way to say it, and it's Subban, like SOO-BAN, Subban. So I was trying to say that. Did it come out that way? Maybe not. Obviously, I'm from Minnesota. I'm a moron. I said my brain. So there's a hockey player from Hastings, Minnesota named Derek Stepan. And part of me could see my brain when I say Subban or saying, because that's who, Derek Stepan I've talked about all the time. I've talked to you about him, big time Hastings hockey player. So I wonder if my band came out Pan, and he's probably right. And again, I sound like an idiot. But I knew it was Subban, so I apologize to PK if I said his name wrong. Good catch, though. I like the VAR. We're going to go to the referee. This is where AI. We need AI, so I can just be like, say it this way and let the AI take care of it all. Yeah.
All right, that is our show, episode 79. Troy, of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is in the books. Well, if you like the episode, please leave a rating, review on Apple, Spotify, or whatever podcast app you happen to listen to us on. If you love the show and you love to hear us butcher names everyone else can pronounce, and want to chat with us on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server, please consider a $5 a month donation. Join our out of 99 support level tier on Patreon. The link is in the show description. You can go to the Hockey Cards Gongshow website and click on the Become a Patron link there. You can go to the Patreon website at patreon.com and search for Hockey Cards Gongshow, or within our Instagram or TikTok profile, you can find a link within our link tree there. Follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, because we're going to do our live show on Monday covering the NHL entry draft. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures LLC. We'll see you on Monday.